Chapter 2164. The Thunder Cliff Tree immediately turned sinister and terrifying in front of Shao Chun. Black aura wriggled around it, looking like a ferocious beast. However, the Thunder Cliff Tree had already gone berserk. When it sensed the aura of the primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment on Shao Chun, it went berserk. This was its life-saving tonic. Shao Chun pulled back the Thunder Cliff Tree's heart, which nearly leaped out of his chest. Then, he stretched out his hand above the valley. Either die or obtain the opportunity. 5. A bright light flashed in Shao Chun's eyes as he thought of the reason. This 100,000-year-old Herb King was probably attracted by the aura of the primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment. Whoosh! After it, even if I have to chase it to the ends of the world, I will make this fellow spit it out. Chu Feng felt incredibly frustrated. He and Fang Xiaobai were the ones who discovered this Thunder Cliff Tree. It should have belonged to the two of them in the first place. This is not a coincidence. Chu Feng thought about something. In the first place, he mainly cultivated the Thunder Dao and grasped the Thunder Dao domain. Now that he had returned to his peak, he did not fear this severely injured Thunder Cliff Tree. Rumble. Go all out. Right now, Shao Chun did not know what his chances were. However, it did not matter whether he advanced or retreated. Originally, he thought that even if someone tried to reap the benefits, that person would not be able to quickly subdue the Thunder Cliff Tree. Instead, that person might even help them block the Thunder Cliff Tree. Mu Yunzhu could not help but ask when he saw Gu Yuhan's hand trembling as he held the flute with an exceptionally unsightly expression. For the next 10 years, 100 years, or even 1,000 years, the Thunder Cliff Tree would continuously absorb lightning-attributed energy. A tribulation mark would be left on the Thunder Cliff Tree. Shao Chun looked carefully and saw more than 100 tribulation marks densely packed on the Thunder Cliff Tree. Shao Chun felt like an evil ferocious beast was staring at him. He found this feeling very unbearable. He was not unfamiliar with this feeling. Road turning around. Shao Chun had made many decisions in the past. Most of the time, he would choose to take a gamble. However, when he was not confident, he would choose to retreat. With a cold shout, Shao Chun's battle hunger blazed like a fierce fire, breaking the heavy aura in the surroundings. A brilliant light flashed in Shao Chun's eyes as he tore off the bedsheet with his right hand. The messy bedsheet turned into a saber as he executed Shao Chun's peak attack. Their advantage was that they were familiar with the operating rules of this world and were well versed in the surroundings. They were adept at escaping, and a moment of carelessness would allow them to escape. 6. His heart was beating faster and faster, as if it was about to jump out of his chest. Shao Chun remained unmoved, his expression cold. Shao Chun's expression changed slightly as he sensed the power of heaven and earth locking onto him. The Thunder Cliff Tree searched around and finally found Shao Chun at the top of the mountain. The Thunder Cliff Tree's aura was greatly weakened. However, in this desperate situation, he only paused for a moment before unleashing all of his ferocious nature. Rumble. Martial Dao cultivation was like rowing a boat against the current. If one did not advance, they would fall back. On the path of cultivation, everyone would encounter fortuitous encounters. A single decision that seemed to take only an instant could change one's entire life. The Universe Origin Sex Chu Feng muttered with an extremely sullen expression, I only saw an afterimage. However, I think that it is definitely him. Aside from him, no one else's afterimage would have the silhouette of a bedsheet. Clearly, this was an outstanding talent that the various factions' false emperors or half-step sovereign emperors believed could hold their own against a false emperor. At this point, the weaker ones no longer qualified to compete for this Herb King. The lingering lightning blocked the Thunder Cliff Tree's connection to the world, crippling it by half. Whoosh! Whoosh! Spiritual light flickered, and electricity crackled endlessly at the bottom of the valley. Strands of purplish-black lightning lingered, radiating a startling baleful aura. 3, 2, 1. It's that strange person in the bedsheet. Xiao Chen could clearly sense that this Thunder Cliff Tree's aura was weak. The spiritual light it gave off was much weaker than when Xiao Chen saw it 2 days ago. Immediately, everyone felt incredibly frustrated. For 2 days, they had fought a battle of wits and courage with this Thunder Cliff Tree, exhausting themselves. Yet, in the end, that strange person easily collected it. Unexpectedly, when the 7 landed, aside from some lingering aura, they could no longer see that person or the Thunder Cliff Tree. Just at this moment, miserable cries came from deep underground. Cracks immediately appeared in the sky, and the entire herb field shook continuously. The 7's expressions changed drastically. Yuan Zhen said sullenly, "Everyone, we can no longer remain in this herb field." After the Thunder Cliff Tree fell to the bottom of the valley, anxiety spread in the air. A faint whirlpool formed. Whoosh! The entire valley lost its life force. All the flowers and plants withered without exception. The outstanding talents of the various factions were still behind the Thunder Cliff Tree. They would soon catch up. Xiao Chen snorted coldly. Then, he firmly grabbed the Thunder Cliff Tree, which had lost its ferocious nature, and left in a flash. As Xiao Chen got closer to the Thunder Cliff Tree, time passed quickly. He only had 3 seconds left. A loud sound rang out, and that 100,000-year-old Herb King fell to the bottom of the valley. Whoosh! 7A battle raged in Xiao Chen's mind. However, it only lasted for an instant. In that instant, he made his decision. The Thunder Cliff Tree grew excited. It finally discovered the source of the primal chaos heaven-replenishing ointment. The Herb Kings in paradise were all ferocious and tainted with a demonic nature. They were very different from those in the outside world. However, the other 6 did not have much time to think. They looked at the crack in the sky and hesitated for a moment before catching up to Yuan Zhen, leaving quickly. If Xiao Chen could not subdue this Thunder Cliff Tree in 10 breaths, the people chasing after him would catch up. With so many false emperors watching, it would be practically impossible for him to leave. When Mu Yunju saw the situation, he did not ask any further. However, he thought to himself, there must be more to this than meets the eye. Firmaments rage, covering the sky with one hand. Damn it! They did not have complete souls, but they were sentient. Clearly, they knew to flee after being injured. Feeling anxious, all of them brought out their trump cards and sped up, rushing towards the valley. After glancing around, Xiao Chen focused his attention on the 100,000-year-old Herb King. A colossal hand containing the rage of a great desolate Aeon ancestor dragon appeared and covered the sky. Night enveloped the area as the back of the hand blocked the descending purple lightning. Before the Thunder Cliff Tree could execute its killing move, this saber light struck it. It lost its ferocious nature and fell to the bottom of the valley. The fluctuation of aura was like a heartbeat. Bang! 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 The Thunder Cliff Tree actually synchronized with Xiao Chen's heartbeat. After 2 seconds, many figures descended. There were the profound Heaven Holy Lands Mu Yunju and Gu Yuhan, the Universe Origin sects Chu Feng and Fang Xiaobai, the Bushan Palaces Xiao Ho Zun and Bai Yunfei, and the Hidden Spirit Temples Yuan Zhen. Bang! The divine seal in his soul pool activated, and Xiao Chen leaped out. Wrapped in a bedsheet, he launched himself at the ferocious Thunder Cliff Tree. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. After a while he asked, "It is injured? Everyone, are we going to chase or not? The problem is, why did it come to where I am? Is it a coincidence or on purpose?" When the Thunder Cliff Tree pounced over, it kicked up lightning everywhere and the pitch-black sky. Bolts of purple-black lightning descended, and a terrifying aura spread out in all directions as if a peerless ferocious beast was about to appear. Gu Yuhan said calmly, suppressing the rage in his heart. At this moment, the Thunder Cliff Tree's trunk was about 1 meter tall, looking like a small tree. The branches branched off, and purple leaves grew on the branches, looking like refined iron. Without even a 10% chance of success, it would be unwise to risk it. At this moment, intense pain spread through Xiao Chen's entire body. At the last second, he activated all the potential in his body, and his aura erupted. Humph! Bang! At that time, Xiao Chen might lose his Tao and his life before he could even retreat. Although Xiao Chen did not fear false emperors, he would not be able to protect himself if surrounded. 8. There was definitely something strange going on. Xiao Chen grew cautious as he spread his arms. He left a faint purple mark where he stood. Then, his figure appeared above the valley, temporarily avoiding it. After the Thunder Cliff tree absorbed the remnant primal chaos heaven replenishing ointment's medicinal energy, its body became brighter. That was why the Thunder Cliff tree had run to this desolate land to treat its injuries and recover its strength. If Xiao Chen had not fallen for the Thunder Cliff tree's trick, this would not have happened. Gu Yuhan and the others had been traveling quickly and had already unleashed their full power several times. Now that they were 1 second late, it would be difficult for them to catch up. However, compared to the severe injuries the Thunder Cliff tree suffered, it was still a drop in the bucket, far from sufficient. Who could not be angry? For when Gu Yuhan looked into the distance, he saw several strong auras behind the Medicine King. Although Xiao Chen had said 10 seconds, he had only given himself 8 seconds to unleash his killing move in advance. Under the heavy pressure, the heartbreaking style had surpassed its peak. When Xiao Chen saw it clearly, his heart skipped a beat. This was actually a Thunder Cliff tree. 10. The most important thing was to be decisive and not hesitate. What's going on? Gu Yuhan could only watch from afar and see if he could get lucky. Gu Yuhan's hand faced the sky, and his palm faced the ground. A flash of saber light moved very quickly, appearing only for an instant. Gu Yuhan knew that Xiao Chen must have fooled him 2 days ago. The other party should be a spent force. The instant the Thunder Cliff tree came into contact, Xiao Chen roared and suddenly accelerated. He shouted out the final 3 seconds in his mind. Then, this colossal hand grabbed all the purple-black lightning in the surroundings. In the next moment, it exploded. The lightning mixed with the saber light tore through the world, lingering there. It was not an easy task to subdue the Herb King in this herb field. The combat prowess that a 10,000-year-old Medicine King could bring out was already comparable to that of a half-step sovereign emperor. Its only weakness was that it was not flexible and did not know martial technique. The 7 appeared almost at the same time. Their expressions were somewhat unsightly. Before they rushed over, they had sensed the fluctuations of battle. Of the 7, only the hidden spirit temple's Yuan Zhen looked into the distance with a contemplative expression. The branches and leaves on the Medicine King's body trembled, bearing fangs and brandishing claws. The ferocious nature that it burst out with was no weaker than a false emperor's. Senior Brother Gu, what's wrong? This Medicine King should have grown at the top of the Thunder Cliff, receiving the baptism of the Thunder Tao. The moment it was born, it would suffer a 1,000-day lightning tribulation and survive for 3 years. That 100,000-year-old Medicine King actually took the initiative to fly towards Xiao Chen after he entered closed-door cultivation for 2 days. To think that a spirit herb wanted to swallow me. How reckless! Flawless Tao, using thoughts as a saber, heartbreaking stance. 9 Whoosh! It's fine. That Thunder Cliff tree seemed like a gourmet that saw a delicacy as it launched itself at Xiao Chen. After Yuan Zhen finished speaking, he turned around and left with a somewhat grave expression. This was indeed true. This desolate valley, which was originally devoid of life, only had its aura exuding life force. Hundreds of flowers bloomed in this valley. This showed how horrifying the medicine's effects were. Chapter 2165. A sorrowful cry caused cracks to appear in the primal chaos sky, where demonic chi and immortal chi coexisted. The expressions of the various super-faction disciples in the herb field changed as they quickly fled. A great horror was about to appear. Before entering paradise, the various elders had instructed them to leave when the sorrowful cry appeared in the herb field. If they could not leave quickly, they had to forcefully leave this paradise, even if they had to pay the price of not being able to continue experiential training. Otherwise, they might fall here if they were not careful. After subduing the Thunder Cliff Tree, Shao Chen, who was fleeing, also saw the crack in the sky. The primal chaos sky was incredibly viscous. Unexpectedly, cracks appeared, startling Shao Chen. Black fireballs rained down from the crevice. It was a terrifying scene. Are those things buried underground going to come out? Shao Chen asked with a slight frown. Previously, he had discovered that there were countless ancient demonic sovereigns kneeling on the thrones in this herb field. The spirit herbs were hidden underground. When everyone subdued the spirit herbs, it was only a matter of time before they startled the countless corpses. I have to go. The herb field was a treasure land. Just a 10,000-year-old herb king would be a huge harvest. Naturally, no one would be willing to leave. This was especially so for the disciples who had not obtained any herb kings or the cultivators who were subduing herb kings. These people would try their luck and would not be able to make a decisive decision. Shao Chen had gained a huge harvest. Naturally, he would not try his luck. His figure flashed as he soared into the air. Shao Chen moved gracefully, like a roaming dragon. A bedsheet fluttered like the wind, flapping noisily as it spun around, looking like snow or clouds. Shao Chen's figure moved nimbly, appearing as ethereal as an immortal as he dodged the many black fireballs. Even though Shao Chen's nimble figure was draped in a bedsheet, it was still breathtaking. The huge light screen outside the trial tower locked on to Shao Chen again. The many faux god powerhouses muttered to themselves. At this moment, the various faux gods had a rough idea of who this strange person was. It was Shao Chen. Dragon race bloodline, peak bladesman, firmament's rage, perfect divine seal. The various characteristics that Shao Chen revealed matched these characteristics. What's more, it was just him, Shao Chen. However, according to the news that everyone had received, Shao Chen had clearly failed to break through to the divine seal and suffered a backlash. His life and death were unknown, so it was impossible for him to be as lively as a dragon or a tiger within 3 days. This was something that Shao Chen could not understand. The faux god powerhouses of the various clans came to a tacit understanding. Now that they roughly confirmed Shao Chen's identity, they did not expose him. Because it was really awkward, it was not like he was their disciple, there was nothing much to say. Furthermore, there were some unexpected factors. He couldn't be 100% sure that it was Shao Chen. Apart from that, there was also the 100,000-year-old king herb, the Thunder Cliff Tree. A 100,000-year-old Thunder Cliff Tree was a natural treasure that could tempt even a faux god. These faux gods all had their own thoughts, thinking about how to obtain the Thunder Cliff Tree after this. This was especially so for some faux gods who cultivated the Thunder Dao. They were eager to give it a try, their eyes flickering continuously. Is it really him? Mu Zifeng thought to himself. However, he could not match the image of Shao Chen in his mind to this bandaged person draped in a bedsheet. Mu Zifeng already had an answer in his heart, but he still did not believe it. The difference in style was too great, completely different extremes. In the herb field in paradise, Shao Chen sped up and left. The situation had already worsened, but some cultivators were still unwilling to leave. Most of these people were subduing king herbs, unwilling to give up on this fortuitous encounter, hoping to get lucky. These people thought that they could still make it in time if they quickly left after subduing the king herb. These people consoled themselves by doing so. Naturally, Shao Chen would not care about people with such thought. These people were putting their lives on the line. That is. Suddenly, Shao Chen stopped and his gaze froze. 2 people wearing alloy battle armor were gritting their teeth as they subdued a 10,000-year-old king herb. It was Yunfei and Nangong Feng. Why are these 2 still not leaving? Like Shao Chen, Yunfei and Nangong Feng were Heavenly Alliance newcomers from Desolate City. This was especially so for Yunfei. Like Shao Chen, He was a disciple of the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. Their friendship was deep, different from the others. Nangong, I feel that something is wrong. Let's retreat. If we do not leave now, we might not make it in time, Yun Fei said with a somewhat nervous expression as he executed the 13 wind controlling swords. After some thought, Nangong Feng said, "You should leave first. This dream lotus flower is compatible with my attribute. As long as I obtain it, I will definitely be able to break through to half-step Sovereign Emperor. If I lose this opportunity, who knows how long I will have to wait." Nangong Feng knew that the situation was extremely dangerous. However, he found it hard to give up. This was an opportunity to break through to half-step Sovereign Emperor. However, he did not want to implicate Yun Fei, so he let him leave first. "Let's go together. I'll help you subdue it. It will be faster." Yun Fei shook his head. He did not choose to leave alone, staying behind to help Nangong Feng subdue this 10,000-year-old king herb. The two moved together in the faux god world and had a deep relationship. Even if it were Yun Fei, Nangong Feng would not abandon him. Whoosh! Just at this moment, something strange happened. A skeletal hand suddenly emerged from the ground. Before Yun Fei could react, that skeletal hand yanked him out of the air. The skeletal hand grabbed Yun Fei's ankle and pulled down, instantly dragging half of his body into the ground. Yun Fei immediately panicked. However, even with all his martial techniques, he could not do anything about it. When Nangong Feng saw the situation, he quickly gave up on subduing the dream lotus flower and turned around to save Yun Fei. Whoosh! 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 Several more skeletal hands appeared. This time, even Nangong Feng found it hard to protect himself. "I'm probably going to die here." Despair and guilt appeared in Nangong Feng's heart. It did not matter if he died, but he also implicated Yun Fei. Nangong Feng should have left long ago. His greed led to this disaster. Whoosh! At the crucial moment, a figure descended from the sky. First, this figure directly scattered the dream lotus flower's ferocious nature with a palm strike, subduing it. Then, a dragon roar rang out and a dragon roar rang out. As the perfect divine seal activated, the Tao contained in the dragon roar spread out. Kasie! Kasie! Those skeletal hands shattered. Shao Chen did not stop moving like a phantom as he pulled out Yun Fei, who was half buried in the ground. He subdued the Herb King, saved Yun Fei, and activated the divine seal. This series of actions flowed smoothly, completed in an instant. Yun Fei and Nangong Feng felt like they were dreaming, startling awake after a while. "Brother, many thanks for helping me. I am unable to repay this life-saving grace." When Nangong Feng saw the strangely dressed Shao Chen, who was wrapped in a bedsheet, he felt shocked. This person's strength and attire were also incredibly strange. "It's me, Shao Chen." There was no need to hide his identity from Yun Fei and Nangong Feng, so Shao Chen told them the truth. "Shao Chen." The two showed pleasant surprise on their faces. At the same time, they were in disbelief. To think that Shao Chen was already so strong. "Here, this is not the time to speak. Let's go first. Those monsters underground. Aside from half-step sovereign emperors with divine seals, the other sovereign personages do not have a good way to deal with them. I'll escort you out." Shao Chen handed the dream lotus to Nangong Feng. Then, he led the way, escorting the two away. It was not yet time for the true danger to arrive. It was not too late to leave. Right. The two did not dare to be careless. They had wanted to leave long ago. Now that they no longer had anything to worry about, they quickly followed behind Shao Chen. With Shao Chen leading the way, they naturally did not encounter any obstacles. The three managed to leave the herb garden after 1 hour, despite the daunting experience. When the three looked back, the cracks in the pitch-black primal chaos sky dome looked terrifying. Miserable cries came from underground, making one's hair stand on end. Nangong Feng and Yun Fei felt a lingering fear. If not for Shao Chen making a move, they would have died for sure. Xiao Chen, many thanks, the two said gratefully. This was especially so for Nangong Feng, as Xiao Chen had even helped him subdue the Dream Lotus. Nangong Feng felt so grateful that he did not know what to say. We are all brothers. There is no need to be so polite. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Then, he thought about Yun Fei's cultivation technique and gave him one of the 10,000-year-old herb kings. This, I cannot accept it. When Yun Fei saw this, he was startled. A 10,000-year-old herb king was incredibly precious, worth cities. He simply did not dare to accept it. Xiao Chen said calmly, I coincidentally obtained a 100,000-year-old herb king. This one is nothing. Yun Fei and Nangong Feng felt greatly shocked, unable to hide the shock on their faces. I still have something to deal with, so I'll take my leave first. Right. A fog sea lay before them. After crossing this fog sea, they would arrive at another experiential training ground in paradise. The other people in the sea of fog were already rushing forward with all their might, trying to seize the initiative. As Yun Fei and Nangong Feng watched Xiao Chen disappear into the fog sea, they remained speechless for a long time, feeling deeply moved. Let's go too. I believe it is not convenient for Xiao Chen to be with us now. I really can't recognize you as Brother Xiao Chen with your attire. At the mention of Xiao Chen's attire, the two could not help laughing. Then, they stepped into the fog sea at the same time. Xiao Chen was in a rush to leave not because it was not convenient for him to be with the two, but because he wanted to deal with the 100,000-year-old Herb King's Thunder Cliff tree on the spot. If he did not deal with it, there would be a lot of trouble. Xiao Chen chose to refine it on the spot, not giving the others a chance to do so. Chapter 2166. Beyond the herb field was a boundless sea of fog. This fog sea was said to be a land of fortuitous encounters in paradise. Someone had once discovered a divine crystal there. There were also people who obtained damaged divine armaments and secret treasures in the fog sea. There were even people who obtained damaged true god flames. As for Xiao Chen, he had no intention of continuing to search for opportunities in the sea of fog. Fortuitous encounters in the fog sea were much more difficult to find than herb field. Furthermore, they were all broken pieces of weapons. To a sovereign personage, they were practically useless. In this era, it was already impossible to become a true god. Even if one had a divine artifact, they would not be able to use it. Most faux gods used soul tools. The so-called divine weapons were not even as valuable as a medial-grade soul tool. The research value of the divine weapon fragment was greater than its practical value. Of course, the fragments of the faux god flame counted separately. However, the chances of finding the faux god flame were even lower than finding the divine herb in the herb field. As Xiao Chen walked through the sea of fog, his spiritual sense and soul energy were greatly restricted. All he could see was a vast expanse of fog. His field of vision was less than 1,000 meters. On the ground, there was an ancient and dilapidated aura. There was a damaged Tao aura lingering about, making one think deeply. This place should have been one of the battlefields of the righteous and demonic Tao when the heaven realm shattered. Xiao Chen was rather satisfied with this ancient battlefield. It was a superb hiding place, and it couldn't be any better to use it to refine and absorb the Thundercliff tree. This is it. Xiao Chen randomly chose a barren mountain and confirmed that it was remote enough that no one would find it. He took out the 100,000-year-old king herb, the Thundercliff tree. Hua! On the light screen outside the trial tower, the image of Xiao Chen in the sea of fog was slightly blurry, but one could still make out a rough outline. Thundercliff tree. This is the 100,000-year-old king herb. There hasn't been a 100,000-year-old king herb in that herb field for many years. If it were any other 100,000-year-old herb king, it wouldn't have much value, but this Thundercliff tree is really incredible. Even if it's not a thunder elemental virtual god, it's great to use it to avoid the thunder tribulation. That's right. If we can directly comprehend the principle behind how it absorbs the lightning tribulation and transforms it into our own energy, that would be really powerful. The faux god realm powerhouses of the various factions became excited when they saw Shao Chun take out the Thunder Cliff Tree. Mu Zifeng thought for a while. If he really is Shao Chun, I have to give him a proper warning after I come out. If he did not handle this 100,000-year-old herb king well, it would bring him endless trouble. What is he doing? At this moment, a faux god suddenly exclaimed softly. He wants to refine the Thunder Cliff Tree. Is this kid crazy? Refining the Thunder Cliff Tree with his meager cultivation base is a waste of God's gift. Seeing Shao Chun refine this 100,000-year-old herb king by himself, the faux god powerhouses of the various factions showed somewhat unsightly expressions. Everyone held the thought that Shao Chun would definitely bring the Thunder Cliff Tree out. After all, a sovereign personage could not completely refine the Thunder Cliff Tree. Forcibly refining it would result in a great waste. The best way was to bring it out and trade it with a faux god expert, exchanging it for a treasure suitable for oneself. However, no one expected Shao Chun to directly give up on this fortuitous encounter in the Fog Sea. He quietly came to refine the Thunder Cliff Tree. Many people did not expect such a scene, so they could only watch helplessly. Who exactly is this fellow? Does he know that refining the Thunder Cliff Tree like this is a waste? Someone muttered. Although they guessed that the other party was Shao Chun, he was wrapped in bandages and a bedsheet, so they could not be sure. If they wanted to curse, they would know who to curse. While in the Fog Sea, Shao Chun did not think too much. He continued to focus on refining the Thunder Cliff Tree. He only knew that 10,000-year-old fiend kings were fine. Faux god experts would not care too much about them. However, as long as he left, the 100,000-year-old herb king would not be his. Shao Chun did not have the ability to resist something that a faux god wanted. The Thunder Cliff Tree was very useful to Shao Chun. If he forcefully refined it, it would be a waste. Shao Chun could not use it to exchange for other treasures. It was not worth it. After the cultivators who fled the herb field settled down, they started searching the Fog Sea. Compared to the herb field filled with fortuitous encounters, the fortuitous encounters in the Fog Sea were much more difficult to search for. However, it was a land of fortuitous encounters, after all. If one was lucky, one would gain something. This was especially so for the cultivators who could not find any spirit herbs in the herb field. They were in high spirit. After crossing this sea of fog, one would arrive at the final trial ground of paradise. There were not many chances left for them. The Fog Sea slowly turned lively. However, this excitement had nothing to do with Shao Chun. Shao Chun focused on refining the Thunder Cliff Tree, absorbing the Thunder Great Tao energy within. Shao Chun could clearly feel his Thunder Tao domain strengthening rapidly. Shao Chun's veritable essence energy continuously condensed, and his cultivation became increasingly stable. In just one day, Shao Chun felt that his cultivation was as dense as when he advanced to half-step Sovereign Emperor 100 years ago. Shao Chun continuously absorbed and refined the 100,000-year-old medicinal energy of the Thunder Cliff Tree. The Thunder Great Tao energy contained in the Thunder Cliff Tree was simply too vast. Shao Chun could only absorb less than 1% of it. The medicinal energy scattered in the surroundings, turning into lightning as it spread out. From a distance, it looked like a sea of lightning. Bit by bit, the medicinal energy sank into the ground, floated in the sky, or merged with the Fog Sea. It was indeed a waste. However, even with less than 1% of the medicinal energy, the benefits were too great for Shao Chun. 7 days later, a loud rumble rang out, and the thunder might in Shao Chun's body soared. The thunder might was as sharp as a sword as it soared into the clouds and tore through the Fog Sea. Shao Chun suddenly opened his eyes, and an electric light flashed in them. The electric light in his eyes was like a saber flashing for a moment. Boom! Loud buzzing sounds came from Shao Chun's body. His Thunder Dao domain broke through 2 layers in a row, directly reaching the 3rd layer. In a mere 7 days, Xiao Chen's Thunder Dao domain advanced from the 1st layer to the peak of the 3rd layer. Xiao Chen thought back to when Mu Yunzhu sat on the comprehension platform for a month to break through the bottleneck of his profound light Dao domain. Now, Xiao Chen broke through the bottleneck of 2 Dao domains, reaching the peak of the 3rd layer of the Thunder Dao domain. This was simply incredible. However, when he thought about how Xiao Chen absorbed a 100,000-year-old Herb King Thunder Cliff Tree, all of this seemed natural. Furthermore, this was just 1% of the Herb King Thunder Cliff Tree's medicinal energy. Fortunately, I forcefully absorbed it now. If I went out and traded it with another faux god expert, I would have suffered a great loss, no matter what treasure I obtained. A bright light flickered in Xiao Chen's eyes, revealing a strong sharpness that others did not dare to look at directly. As far as Xiao Chen knew, no one in the entire faux god world had broken through to the 2nd layer of the Dao domain. Even an outstanding talent like Mu Yunzhu's profound light Dao domain only reached the peak of the 2nd layer. Without a miracle, it would be impossible for Mu Yunzhu to break through to the 3rd layer without 10 years. Given this, Xiao Chen finally had a trump card to deal with the other false emperors, the 3rd layer Thunder Dao domain. However, the benefits that the Thunder Cliff Tree brought to Xiao Chen were far from limited to just this. After Xiao Chen completely refined the Thunder Cliff Tree, his divine lightning eye advanced to peak consummation. Xiao Chen vaguely sensed that he could use the 10,000 tribulation divine lightning that he obtained in the Kunlun realm. However, many faux gods were watching, so it was not good to try. Compared to the improvement of the Thunder Dao domain, that 10,000 tribulation divine lightning excited Xiao Chen even more. Whoosh! The Thunder Cliff Tree in Xiao Chen's hand lost its medicinal energy and immediately turned into ashes, scattering with the wind. Only purple leaves that were as hard as divine metal remained. Every purple leaf contained tribulation lightning patterns. The patterns were twisted like naturally formed divine characters, looking very profound. After counting them, there were exactly 360 purple leaves. He felt that these purple leaves were very extraordinary. After observing them for a while, Xiao Chen carefully put them away. His heart surged with excitement, and his entire body felt indescribably carefree. Xiao Chen could not hide the excitement in his eyes. The opportunity of this Thunder Cliff Tree was simply too startling. If that Guyuhan meets me again, there is no need for me to play tricks with him. In the end, Xiao Chen had relied on his scheming to win against Guyuhan, allowing him to leave. Although Xiao Chen acknowledged the other party's strength, he did not feel that he was much weaker than the other party. Back when Xiao Chen recovered from his internal injuries, he had thought of fighting the other party again. After 7 days, I wonder if I still have a chance to explore the final trial land of paradise? After Xiao Chen calmed his emotions, a brilliant light flashed in his eyes as he quickly traveled through the fog sea. Chapter 2167. As Xiao Chen traveled through the boundless fog sea, he headed for Paradise's final experiential training ground. Paradise was vast and boundless. However, there was only one place where sovereign personages could seek fortuitous encounters. Naturally, the simplest place was a herb field. 10,000-year-old herb kings that even sovereign emperors could not easily obtain outside could be obtained by sovereign personages here. Xiao Chen could even obtain a heaven-defying item like the 100,000-year-old herb king, the Thunder Cliff Tree. The faintest place was the fog sea where Xiao Chen currently was. This used to be an ancient battlefield. There were broken divine weapons and remnant divine flames. However, death chi spread everywhere, and the vast fog blocked soul energy and spiritual sense. Searching for divine weapon fragments in there was like searching for a needle in a haystack. No matter how strong one could only gamble on boundless luck. Speaking of which, this fog sea was a rather fair land of fortuitous encounters. It did not matter whether one was strong or not. The final land of fortuitous encounters was the heaven-bridging peak. In the past, before the heavenly realm shattered, the world tree supported the central great realm and the heavenly realm. The heaven-bridging peak was the divine mountain where foe gods of the mundane world advanced to true God and headed to the heavenly realm. Unfortunately, the heavenly steps shattered, and the world tree broke in the Black Dragon King's charge. The heaven-bridging peak also broke into 3 segments, one segment for the central great realm, one segment for the great thousand realms, and one segment for the abyssal underworld. A divine mountain broke into 3 heaven-bridging peaks. From then on, there were no more true gods in the world. The heaven-bridging peak lost the miracle of comprehending the heavenly Tao, returning to the true state, and becoming a peak martial god. Even so, the heaven-bridging peak still had remnants of the heavenly Tao and the eternal supreme truths. The shock waves of the divine tribulation could be seen everywhere. To foe gods, comprehending the Tao and cultivating on this peak was no longer of much use. However, it held a fatal attraction for sovereign personages and sovereign emperors. They could instantly undergo a complete transformation when they comprehended the Tao. In the past, when paradise opened, there were many such examples. Liu Benwei was the one who helped Xiao Chen find out all the information about paradise. Before Xiao Chen prepared to head to paradise, Liu Benwei had told him about it. As Xiao Chen traveled through the fog sea, he continuously thought about the various wonders and mysteries of the heaven-bridging peak. I really miss that era. The world tree didn't fall, and the sky-piercing peak still stood. The peak of the martial path was a place where everyone could fight to the death. Now that I'm at the false god realm, I'm at the pinnacle. Outsiders who don't know would think that I'm at the true god realm. I don't understand. Why is the Black Dragon King doing this? If the heavenly realm shatters and the true gods don't come out, what good will it do him? As his thoughts drifted, Xiao Chen felt the sea of fog gradually weaken. Soon, his vision cleared up. Many disciples of the various superpowers stopped in front of them with grave expressions. It was unknown what kind of problem they had encountered. Xiao Chen didn't show himself rashly. Instead, he observed his surroundings thoughtfully. As it turned out, he was still deep within the fog sea. He had not left the fog sea. However, in the center of this sea of fog was an unknown and vast abyss. No matter where one came from, they would arrive at the edge of this abyss. The abyss was a giant pit that reached the heavens. It was incomparably pitch black and contained a terrifying demonic energy. As Xiao Chen stood at the edge of the abyss and looked down, his heart skipped a beat. After taking a few more glances, he quickly withdrew his gaze as if afraid that some monster would swallow him up. Above the abyss, there were a total of 9 mysterious pontoon bridges, all of them made from pieces of ancient green pine trees. They connected to 9 different directions. They looked like divine bridges that led to the heavens. At the same time, they looked like divine chains locking something terrifying. Xiao Chen looked at the floating bridges. The 9 bridges in different directions gathered in the center and ended up in the primal chaos sky. At this moment, Xiao Chen finally understood. The 9 bridges should lead to the heaven-bridging peak. Since there were 9 bridges, then any one of them should lead to the heaven-bridging peak. There should be many people gathered at the entrance of each bridge. Xiao Chen wondered why these people gathered here did not step onto the bridges. I need to show myself. Otherwise, who knows how long I will have to wait. Whoosh! Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he leaped out of the fog sea, leaving behind a faint purple mark. When he reappeared, he was already dead. When he reappeared, he was already at the edge of the abyss. When he reappeared, he saw that the front of the floating bridges was empty, not leading to the abyss. If one wanted to go up, one could only cross the air and step onto the floating bridges hovering in the air. However, to the people here, crossing the air and traveling 5,000 kilometers in an instant was easy. Why did these people stop here with grave expressions, not daring to go forward? Xiao Chen looked down and saw pitch-black deep abyss demonic chi. It was absolute darkness, so dark that it felt terrifying. Xiao Chen felt fear for some reason. With just a few glances, he felt like his soul was being sucked in. So, that was the case. This abyss was strange. There was no way to cross it. If one wanted to go to the heaven-bridging peak, one could only take the bridge. Aside from that, there was no other way. Based on these people's cautious expressions, it was clear that someone had tried to cross it before. In the end, that person fell into the abyss, scaring everyone into not daring to go forward. Damn it! It looks like we can't cross this bridge anymore. Earlier, several people tried to cross and fell into the abyss. We can't even jump over. There is a terrifying suction in the empty space of the bridge. Even a half-step sovereign emperor would be pulled in. A few people complained in low voices, feeling extremely depressed. Indeed, it was as Xiao Chen expected. Just at this moment, someone noticed Xiao Chen. It was impossible not to notice him. No one dressed as attention-grabbing as Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was wrapped in bandages and wrapped in a bedsheet. Anyone would take a few glances at him. Look, it's that strange person. It really is him. I heard that he was the one who snatched that 100,000-year-old herb king from the herb field. To think that he dares to show himself. Quickly, go and inform Senior Brother Mu. The people here were all disciples of the 5 super factions. Most of them had grudges with Xiao Chen. When someone saw Xiao Chen, he immediately wanted to go and inform Senior Brother Mu. However, someone immediately interrupted him and scolded, "You idiot! Don't be in a rush to inform him first. He might have a way to cross the bridge. Furthermore, those false emperors are all thinking about how to cross the bridge now. If we want to settle the score with him, that will be after this matter." Right. Let's see what he can do. Earlier, I went to the other bridges. None of the 9 bridges is easy to cross. After going around, everyone is blocked. Those false emperor outstanding talents are all thinking hard about countermeasures. Right. If we follow this bedsheet strange person, we might have a better chance. After all, he managed to snatch that 100,000-year-old herb king from the eyes of so many false emperors. He should not be simple. Xiao Chen ignored the chatter and headed for the bridge's entrance. The others quickly gave way. As Xiao Chen stood at the edge of the cliff, he looked at the winding bridge leading to the sky. It hung alone above the deep abyss, looking very mysterious. This sky-crossing bridge was at least 100,000 feet long, reaching into the clouds. However, the first few kilometers were completely empty. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Naturally, the simplest method was to leap up and step onto the floating bridge hovering in the air. However, it was clear that someone had already tried. That person had fallen into the deep abyss, probably dead. If every pontoon bridge is difficult to cross, then it shouldn't be a coincidence. Someone purposely tested me. Each of the 9 floating bridges tests something different. When Xiao Chen heard people discussing that the other floating bridges were similarly difficult, he thought that this should be a test. If one wanted to climb the heaven-bridging peak, one had to clear these tests first. Since that was the case, then there had to be a way to cross. Xiao Chen rubbed his chin and entered deep thought. What is this floating bridge testing? Chapter 2168. At the same time, on the light screen outside the trial tower, the scenes of the 9 floating bridges appeared at the same time. Each floating bridge had a group of people in deep thought. The profound heaven holy lands Mu Yunju and Guyuhan, the universe origin sects Fang Xiaobai and Chu Feng, the Bushan palaces Xiaohozun and Bai Yunfei, the hidden spirit temples Yuanzhen, and the other false emperor heavenly bridge geniuses all stood before the floating bridges, thinking hard about countermeasures. Every floating bridge had its own problems. The wooden planks that formed the floating bridges continuously spun, preventing people from stepping on them. Sometimes they appeared and disappeared, making it hard to choose. Sometimes they were covered in frost and fire. Some looked fine, but when one stepped on them, one would lose their mind. 9 bridges, 9 tests. I wonder who will comprehend them first? The God-conferring platform on the heaven-bridging peak is not that easy to climb. The God-conferring platform, ha! How unfortunate! If the God-conferring platform were still complete, we would not be trapped in the faux God realm. Indeed. Right now, the God-conferring platform is only of some help to sovereign emperors and sovereign personages. It is not of much help to us. It is useless to say all this now. Let's just look at what is in front of us. In my opinion, the first to solve the mystery will definitely be the hidden spirit temples Yuanjun. At the mention of the heaven-bridging peak, these faux gods could not help sighing. After a few words, they stopped talking about it. Solving the mystery of the heaven-bridging bridge is not too difficult for these false emperor outstanding talents. It is only a matter of time. Based on past practice, the hidden spirit temple's outstanding talents should be the first to solve it. This time should be no exception. Perhaps it will be that strange person. I think he noticed something with one glance. Humph! That fellow would rather waste more than 90% of the Thunder Cliff tree's medicinal energy than give it to us. At the very least, he will die in this 10,000 demon abyss. Just thinking about it makes me angry. At the mention of Shao Chen, the faux gods all felt some resentment. Among them, the profound Heaven Holy Land's Gu Fei felt the heaviest resentment. When he heard someone mention Shao Chen, he could not help cursing. First, Zhang Yushan, a profound Heaven Holy Land disciple, got beaten up by Shao Chen. Then, Shao Chen tricked the false Emperor Gu Yuhan. If Zhang Yushan hadn't left and attacked Shao Chen wouldn't have been able to escape. Shao Chen would definitely be able to force Shao Chen to leave paradise. If Shao Chen left, there would be no more problems. That Thunder Cliff tree would definitely not fall into the hands of Shao Chen. Gu Fei, what do you mean? Initially, Mu Zifeng cursed like that just to vent his frustration. However, Mu Zifeng felt uncomfortable when he heard it. You are a faux god after all. What logic is there in cursing my Heavenly Alliance disciples to die? Gu Fei came to his senses. He also felt that it was inappropriate for him to say such words given his status. However, since he had already said it, it was impossible for him to take it back. He could only stubbornly say, "What's wrong? He is just a strange person wrapped in a bedsheet. So what if I say a few words? Could he be a Heavenly Alliance disciple?" Although there were many doubtful points, most of the faux gods felt that the bedsheet monster should be Shao Chen. However, he was still wrapped in a bedsheet, and his entire body was covered in gauze, so no one could be sure. Mu Zifeng felt stifled when he heard that. He could not rebut Gu Fei's sophistry. Humph! Don't tell me that your Heavenly Alliance's people all have such a strange hobby? Do you like to run around in bed sheets? Ha! This old man really did not know. Otherwise, could it be that this bedsheet is also an illusion of the alloy battle armor? Seeing that Mu Zifeng could not rebut, Gu Fei decided to go all out. Gu Fei, don't go overboard. Everyone knows this very well. This person is very likely my Heavenly Alliance's Shao Chen. You cursed him to die in front of everyone. Can I say a few words about you? Seeing Gu Fei going overboard, Yi Zifeng felt enraged. When the spectators saw the smell of gunpowder, they all revealed a trace of a smile, actually treating it as a good show to watch. What a joke! You say that he is your Heavenly Alliance's person, but what proof do you have? I can say that he is my profound Heaven Holy Land's disciple. I am teaching him a lesson. Do I need you to interrupt? Interesting. In that case, do you dare to make a bet with me? If he is not a Heavenly Alliance member, I will agree to one of your requests. Gu Fei smiled coldly in his heart. Naturally, he would not bet. He said indifferently, "What is the point of this bet? If you want to bet, let's bet on who can ascend the God-conferring platform first. I bet that anyone can ascend the God-conferring platform first, but not your Heavenly Alliance's person." Of the 5 super factions, the Heavenly Alliance was slightly inferior in the first place. Be it the outstanding talents or accumulations, they were all weaker. Yi Zifeng did not hold much hope for paradise in the first place, so he was very open-minded about it. However, Gu Fei still cursed at Xiao Chen even though he was mostly sure of Xiao Chen's identity. "All right, I'll bet with you that my Heavenly Alliance's person will be the first to ascend the heaven-bridging peaks God-conferring platform," Mu Zifeng said sullenly as a cold look flashed on his handsome face. "Ha ha ha ha. Good. It's a deal, then. Everyone will be witnesses. Whoever loses will agree to one of the other party's requests." When Gu Fei heard that, he could not help laughing loudly. Originally, he wanted to humiliate Mu Zifeng. Who knew, Mu Zifeng actually agreed to this sure-win bet. Gu Fei could not help rejoicing. When the other foe god powerhouses heard that, they felt somewhat incredulous. They shook their heads slightly. No matter how they looked at it, Gu Fei's chances of winning were too high. Lord Mu. The expressions of the Heavenly Alliance elders changed slightly, wanting to dissuade Mu Zifeng. Mu Zifeng showed a sullen expression as he waved his hand and said, "I've already made up my mind. There's no need to say anything more." Yuan Zhen is moving. The light screen showed Yuan Zhen stepping onto the seemingly ordinary floating bridge, which was actually an illusion and bewitching. As everyone guessed, the hidden spirit temple's Yuan Zhen stepped onto the floating bridge first. Lotuses appeared under Yuan Zhen's feet, and a Buddhist light shone behind him. He held his right hand in front of his chest with his thumb on the second segment of his middle finger, forming a meditative hand seal. Then, he held a Buddhist treasure in his left hand. Yuan Zhen appeared solemn and dignified. In the blink of an eye, he moved farther away. Yuan Zhen walked more than 1 kilometer on the floating bridge without any obstruction. This immediately elicited startled cries. Soon after, Chu Feng, Fang Xiaobai, and the others stepped onto the floating bridge. Then, they climbed up the bridge and soared into the sky. On the other hand, Xiao Chen already tried many methods but still did not take a step forward. He probably failed. Lord Gu, Gu Yuhan and Mu Yunju have already stepped onto the bridge. The light screen showed the two false emperor outstanding talents of the profound Heaven Holy Land already stepping onto a floating bridge and ascending. Gu Fei looked around and saw that the bed-sheathed strange person still staring at the empty floating bridge, not moving at all. Gu Fei could not help smiling coldly, showing his disdain without words. "Lord Mu, is that person wrapped in a bedsheet really Xiao Chen?" A Heavenly Alliance elder could not help feeling suspicious when he saw the situation. After all, the other outstanding talents had already made their move, but Yuan Zhen had not. Mu Zifeng said after some thought, "The floating bridge in front of him is somewhat different. Those who are too smart will not be able to figure it out. However, as long as one can figure it out, one will be able to catch up. There's no rush." At the cliff of the 10,000 Demon Abyss, as Xiao Chen looked at the floating bridge, he said after some thought, "I tried at least 100 methods and came up with more than 1,000 results in my mind. Logically speaking, I should have figured out the reason long ago." These words were not due to arrogance but the confidence in Xiao Chen's heart. Even people like Mu Yunju and Gu Yuhan had already stepped onto the floating bridge. Xiao Chen should not be unable to figure it out. Using his own talent and comprehension ability to compare with others, Xiao Chen started thinking in reverse, rejecting all his previous deductions. After a while, he came to a rough guess. So, that is the case. Inspiration flashed in Xiao Chen's mind. Then, he strode forward and arrived at the edge of the cliff. If he took another step forward, he would fall into the 10,000 Demon Abyss. There were 9 pontoon bridges, and each one had a different test. I thought of thousands of different deductions and variations. In reality, I was wrong from the start. The Great Tao is the simplest. This floating bridge tests only one word: courage. If not for seeing the others step onto the floating bridge, Xiao Chen might have needed much more time to break out of the trap of his thinking. However, the pride and confidence in the depths of his heart instantly woke Xiao Chen up, allowing him to break out of the limitations of his thinking. Ah! The people behind Xiao Chen exclaimed, startled. They saw Xiao Chen, who was at the edge of the cliff, take a step into the deep abyss. This was no different from suicide. Everyone's heart tightened, completely dumbfounded. However, the next scene was even more shocking. The expected scene of Xiao Chen falling into the deep abyss did not happen. Instead, an ancient tree appeared under his feet. It was like every step Xiao Chen took bloomed lotuses. With every step he took, an ancient tree appeared under his feet. Soon, before everyone's shocked gazes, Xiao Chen stepped onto the floating bridge that had been floating in the air. The brave are fearless and advance courageously. The overcautious should not enter this bridge. Chapter 2169. The courageous had no fear and charged forward courageously. The overcautious should not enter this bridge. Earlier, the disciples of the various large sects tried to leap up and reach the floating bridge 300 meters away. Without exception, they all died in the bottomless, absolute darkness of the 10,000 demon abyss. They probably all died. After that, no one dared to try again. They were all like Xiao Chen, thinking hard about how to step onto the floating bridge 300 meters away. Unfortunately, they thought too much and ended up sinking into it. The more overcautious and cautious they were, the more they could not see through the principles behind it. The Great Tao was the simplest. After understanding it, it was just courage. Perhaps some people thought of it, or perhaps some people thought that they understood it. The principles behind it were all courage. However, they did not dare to step forward, not daring to take that step that might cause them to fall. Hence, they only thought about it and did not see through it. No matter how many thoughts there were, if one was not confident and did not put them into practice, it would be useless. Only Xiao Chen was smart enough and confident enough. Why is it that the other outstanding talents have already stepped onto the floating bridge, but I have not? I, Xiao Chen, have fought along the way. In this faux god world, have I ever suffered a loss against any outstanding talents? Since that is the case, it is not that I, Xiao Chen, am stupid or that I, Xiao Chen, do not have sufficient comprehension ability. No one was stupid, especially the outstanding talents that could come to the faux god world. What they truly lacked was not comprehension ability, but confidence. Coincidentally, pride and ambition were rooted in Xiao Chen's bones from the moment he stepped onto the martial Tao. They flowed in the depths of his blood, growing endlessly. Xiao Chen had never lacked confidence. With every step he took, a piece of ancient would appear out of thin air. Not long after, he had officially stepped onto the floating bridge that was 1,000 feet away. Whoosh! The instant Xiao Chen's feet landed, he felt as light as a feather. A hot-bloodedness to advance courageously burned in his body. The floating bridge under his feet was like wind, allowing him to move forward boldly. Whoosh! 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 The bedsheet fluttered like a cloak. Who dared to laugh at him? No one dared to. They only felt that this person had an indescribable pride and confidence. Even though his entire body was covered in bandages, it could not hide his sharpness. Damn it! I thought about it long ago. This floating bridge might be a test of courage. That's right. Actually, it is rather simple. You can't fly over, you can't use tricks, and you can't force your way over. This is clearly telling everyone that you can't be timid. Many people felt regret when they saw Xiao Chen moving like the wind. It looked like he was about to catch up to the other outstanding talent. However, what was the point of regret? This kind of regret only meant that they still hadn't seen through it. Overcautious and indecisive, they shouldn't step onto this bridge. Xiao Chen was already flying on the floating bridge, but the group of people behind him still stood at the edge of the cliff, hesitating. If we fall, we'll lose our lives. If we step on air, our lives will be over. Do we really want to gamble? Damn it! What if I am not as brave as Xiao Chen? Xiao Chen. Xiao God Xiao Chen Dragon Chen. But after seeing Xiao and seeing Xiao, he. And, in the end, a miserable cry rang out. Gu Mu did not appear out of nowhere. Instead, he fell into the 10,000 demon abyss. This frightened the others into retreating quickly, their faces pale. If one is timid, one will not be able to cross this bridge. Only by being like Shao Chen, having a fearless heart, can one truly cross it. This group of people showed conflicted and unsightly expressions. Even though they understood the principle, not many dared to cross. Not to mention this group of people, Shao Chen walked on the floating bridge with a relaxed expression and light footstep. The floating bridge meandered upward. It looked flat, but in reality, it climbed all the way to the primal chaos heavenly bridge. This was a heavenly bridge, a bridge that led to the heaven-bridging peak. In the scene outside the trial tower, the group of faux gods saw Shao Chen arrive first despite moving later. Unexpectedly, he silently took the lead. Even Yuan Zhen, who comprehended the primal chaos heavenly bridge first, was surpassed by Shao Chen. This could be seen clearly in the scene. Shao Chen had already taken the lead, taking the lead and charging into the sky. Damn, this kid actually got first place. Gu Fei was in disbelief. He read it again before cursing, F***K, it's really first place. However, this is only the first step. The Tongtian Peak is not that easy to climb. This brat has offended so many people. I don't believe he can hold on. Lord Mu, it's really as you expected. The Heavenly Alliance elder said excitedly. Mu Zifeng said indifferently, there's no rush. It is as that lunatic Gu said. This is just the beginning. Finally, other people in the 10,000 demons abyss gathered their courage and stepped onto the floating bridges. However, with this delay, these people would definitely not be as fast as Shao Chen and the group of false emperor outstanding talent. Actually, from this, it could already be seen that the false emperor outstanding talents were indeed superior to the others. Those who could be called heavenly geniuses in the faux god realm were not weak. At this moment, Shao Chen felt a little strange. The floating bridge gradually rose into the sky. He felt like he could touch the sticky, primal chaos sky just by stretching out his hand. However, it also felt extremely distant, right before his eyes but untouchable. While it was strange, Shao Chen still continued forward until he reached the end of the bridge. A 7-colored whirlpool with overwhelming spiritual energy appeared at the end of the floating bridge. Without hesitation, Shao Chen strode forward and entered the whirlpool. Others could not see the whirlpool. They only felt that Shao Chen had reached the end of the floating bridge. Then, his figure entered the sky, never to be seen again. This is the scene before Shao Chen's eyes suddenly changed. The sky was gray and the world around him was dark. A cold wind howled in this world. Corpses were buried in the desolate land. Dilapidated ships half buried in the ground and blood-stained war banners stretched as far as the eye could see. Broken skeletons were everywhere. Every skeleton gave off a startling aura, expressing boundless dissatisfaction. As the cold wind blew, the dissatisfaction, rage, and hatred all turned into roars. As the cold wind howled in the desolate land, it felt like they had existed for millions of years. Shao Chen turned solemn, showing a grave expression. Where did these skeletons come from? Why did the heaven-bridging peak give off overwhelming resentment and evil winds? A mountain peak stood not far away in front of Shao Chen. The mountain peak towered into the clouds. However, it seemed like another world was in the sea of clouds. The heaven-bridging peak. Needless to say, this was the heaven-bridging peak. A familiar yet unfamiliar feeling assaulted Shao Chen. Shao Chen's heart skipped a beat. He immediately found it strange. It is normal for it to be unfamiliar. Why do I find it familiar? Just as Shao Chen was feeling confused, deep in thought, a dazzling Buddhist light burst forth from the dark world. A dazzling Buddhist light burst out of the dark world. The solemn and dignified Yuan Zhen, who had a benevolent expression on his face, quickly followed, appearing in this God-conferred world. Shao Chen, your attire is rather eye-catching. Although the people of my Buddhist sect do not care about the gazes of the secular world, there is no one as bold as you, Yuan Jin said with a smile as he looked at Shao Chen. Shao Chen asked, "You recognize me?" "That is natural. Others do not recognize you and cannot guess your identity. However, the Buddhist nature in your body cannot be hidden. No matter how much you change, you cannot escape my pair of wise eyes of the Buddhist sect." Yuan Jin smiled faintly, appearing calm. Then, he casually looked at the surrounding skeletons. The smile on Yuan Jin's face slowly faded as he sighed softly. The path to becoming a god is very bumpy. These countless skeletons are the faux god powerhouses who died on the god-conferring platform since the heaven-bridging peak was established. The god-conferring platform? That's right. The god-conferring platform is at the top of this heaven-bridging peak. In the past, before the heavenly realm shattered and the heaven-bridging peak broke, all the faux gods of the world had to go there. After going to the god-conferring platform and undergoing the divine tribulation, one could return to the true state and become an eternal true god. Unfortunately, this path is not easy to tread. Who knows how many skeletons have been buried and how many heroes have died in the past 1,000,000 years. In the past, this heaven-bridging peak was even more difficult to tread than it is now. There are 3 calamities and 9 tribulations. 3 minor calamities, 3 major calamities, 9 minor tribulations, and 9 major tribulations. Not a single one is missing. Shao Chen said after some thought. You really know a lot. After speaking so much nonsense, do you not intend to ascend the god-conferring platform? Yuan Zhen pressed his palms together, and a solemn look flashed in his eyes. Then, he said seriously, there's no need. The heaven-bridging peak no longer has a divine nature, and the god-conferring platform is already broken. How can it truly become a god? It will just increase my cultivation a little and give me some comprehension. Before I came here, I already discovered that the skeletons here are all heroic spirit. Buddha is merciful. Although this little monk is weak, no matter how many I receive, it is all merit. You can go and climb this peak. We both have our own karma. Shao Chen smiled coldly in his heart. Looking at Yuan Zhen's solemn expression and his merciful appearance, others might really be fooled. However, Shao Chen was familiar with Yuan Zhen's character. He retorted in disdain, "Speak properly. Stop pretending." Yuan Zhen felt somewhat embarrassed. He coughed a few times and said, "There must be a senior of my Buddhist sect among these countless skeletons. If I can find an ancient Sarira, it will be much more beneficial than climbing the god-conferring platform." Shao Chen did not believe the words of this monk, not even a single punctuation. Since Yuan Zhen was willing to remain at the foot of the mountain, there was no need to care. Shao Chen still wanted to climb the heaven-bridging peak and climb the god-conferring platform. Shao Chen wanted to gamble on an opportunity on the god-conferring platform, an opportunity that Lu Benwei mentioned to him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just at this moment, Mu Yunju, Chu Feng, Gu Yuhan, and the other false emperor outstanding talents arrived one after another. These people glanced at Shao Chen, and a murderous intent flashed in their eyes. However, no one said anything to him. After they appeared, they immediately looked at the heaven-bridging peak. Without saying anything, they quickly rushed over. Shao Chen smiled coldly in his heart. Without saying anything, he leaped up and climbed the heaven-bridging peak as well. Yuan Zhen's gaze landed on the countless skeletons. Then, he placed one hand on his chest and bowed. Buddha is merciful. Excellent, excellent. Chapter 2170. Yuan Zhen recited his Buddhist name and started chanting scriptures in this burial ground. A lotus appeared under Yuan Zhen's feet, carrying him through the boundless corpses. Who knew if he was searching for something or if he was really speculating in stocks and accumulating beneficence? Regardless of what this person was thinking, The focus of Paradise's final trial would definitely be on that heaven-bridging peak. The false emperor outstanding talents of the various superfactions all climbed the heaven-bridging peak, wanting to be the first to stand on the god-conferring platform. Without a doubt, whoever could truly occupy the god-conferring platform would be the greatest winner of Paradise. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The disciples of the Heavenly Alliance, Bushan Palace, the Universe Origin Sect, the Profound Heaven Holy Land, and the other superfactions appeared one after another in the burial ground. Soon, they flew towards the heaven-bridging peak. Soon, the heaven-bridging peak was filled with people. Hundreds of outstanding talents of the 5 superfactions gathered here, climbing to the summit. However, the ones truly at the front were Shao Qin and the other false emperor outstanding talent. These people were all chasing after them. The latecomers did not even get to see their back. Everyone wanted to climb the god-conferring platform quickly, wanting to gain the chance to comprehend the Tao, soar their cultivation, and improve their strength. However, how could the heaven-bridging peak be so easy to climb? Although it no longer had any divine nature, the might and pressure from the remnant divine might was not something that a sovereign personage could easily resist. Occasionally, illusions of the 3 calamities and 9 disasters appeared. These were not the 3 calamities and 9 disasters that faux gods had to experience, just illusions that existed in the river of time. However, to Shao Qin and the others, the heaven-bridging peak was still filled with danger. Even if Gu Yuhan and the others wanted to seek trouble for the strange person here, even if they knew that he snatched that 100,000-year-old Herb King, they would not be able to divert their attention to settle the score with Shao Qin. For now, Gu Yuhan and the others would not be able to divert their attention to settle the score with Shao Qin. As Shao Qin walked between the peaks, he had an easier time than the others. His blue dragon divine body, which he had already awakened once, held an advantage here. Originally, Yuan Zhen cultivated the indestructible iron body. In terms of strength, his Arhat Dharma body was even stronger than Shao Qin's divine body. Unfortunately, for some reason, this monk did not want to climb the peak. Without Yuan Zhen, no one could surpass Shao Qin. Hundreds of people climbed the heaven-bridging peak. The various false emperor outstanding talents were far in the lead. Then, Shao Qin took the lead, leading the other false emperor outstanding talent. Outside the trial tower, the expression of the profound heaven holy land's Gu Fei already turned somewhat unsightly. Who would have thought that such a situation would happen to the bet that they were sure to win? Mu Zifeng smiled faintly and said, "Lunatic Gu, it looks like I have some chance of winning this bet. I'm afraid it was too early for you to be complacent before." Gu Fei snorted, "Humph, the show has only just begun. If he could stand on the conferred god platform and ignite the divine flame, then he would have won. Just standing there and not getting any benefits at all before being blasted off was not something to be proud of. Besides, none of the 3 calamities and 9 disasters have appeared yet. Our lead doesn't count." Light flashed in Mu Zifeng's eyes as he said indifferently, "I know what you are thinking. However, let's wait and see who will have the last laugh. This weirdo really got first place." Indeed. If he had not spent some time talking to Yuan Zhen, he would probably have gone even further. Although he's in the lead now, he's not really in the lead. He's mainly relying on the advantage of his physical body. However, the later tribulations were not something that could be passed by relying on the advantage of one's physical body. At that time, the others will be able to display their advantages, and they might have a chance to overtake us. Yes, let's continue watching. This bet is really interesting. I thought I would definitely lose, but who would have thought that this strange person would actually come out and kill me? Although the group of faux god powerhouses did not like Shao Qin, they did not like him. However, in the depths of their hearts, they felt admiration for him for being able to get first place. Furthermore, the bridge of the brave that he walked was much more difficult than the bridges of the false emperor geniuses. The 3 calamities and 9 tribulations are here. Someone exclaimed softly. Then, on the light screen, countless flaming clouds gathered at the top of the heaven-bridging peak. In the next moment, the entire sky was filled with flames as if doomsday had arrived. It was the first of the 3 calamities and 9 calamities, doomsday fire. Of course, this was just an illusion that came from the flow of spacetime and not the true flaming doomsday. If it were real, not to mention a sovereign personage, even a faux god would find it hard to block it. The appearance of the doomsday fire was a test and an opportunity for many people. There was no need to say much about the test. In the face of the doomsday fire, no one dared to take it lightly. If Shao Chen didn't handle it well, it would be a great opportunity to overtake him. Boom! Almost as soon as the fiery clouds appeared, the doomsday fire descended with a loud rumble. No one on the peak of Tongtian could avoid it. However, there was a difference in order of priority. The first to bear the brunt was naturally Shao Chen. Shao Chen's expression did not change. He was already prepared for this, and he quickly untied the bedsheet. Shao Chen used the Ice Dao domain to support the bedsheet. The bedsheet immediately turned snow-white like frost. When it covered the body, it instantly felt bone-chilling. Just enough to offset the terrifying power of the doomsday fire. The entire sky-piercing peak turned into a blazing mountain of flames in the doomsday fire. Many of the people who grasped the fire great Dao immediately showed cocky expressions. These people all spread out their fire Dao domains and instantly felt much more relaxed. They could even refine the doomsday fire. Not only did they not suffer any injuries, but they even benefited from it. Only an illusion would dare to refine it like this. If it were a real doomsday fire, even a faux god would not dare to take it lightly, much less refine it. Naturally, the people who did not grasp the fire great Dao naturally showed extremely unsightly expressions. Not to mention advancing, even holding on would be a problem. At this moment, the ones who felt the most pleased were naturally the Bushan Palace's Chu Feng and Fang Xiaobai. A flame mark burned on the two's foreheads. That was the mark of the universe origin true flame that had been passed down for 1,000,000 years. Compared to Shao Chen's universe origin true flame, these two's universe origin true flame had more spirituality and charm. Xiaobai used this opportunity to surpass that strange person in one go. If you are confident, help me delay him, Chu Feng said seriously as a sharp light flashed in his eyes. Chu Feng wanted to sacrifice Fang Xiaobai at the crucial moment to help himself. Fang Xiaobai felt somewhat dissatisfied. However, the other party was a member of the royal court and held a higher status than him. There was no need to overthink it. Fang Xiaobai felt somewhat dissatisfied. However, the other party was a member of the royal court, someone with a higher status than him. There was no need to overthink it. If there's an opportunity, I'll make a move. The two seemed to have divine assistance in the flames. They immediately shook off the other false emperor's outstanding talents and frantically chased after Shao Chen. These two guys have too much of an advantage now. I'm afraid they're going to surpass that weirdo. Bushan Palace's Xiahozun said somewhat gloomily as he watched Chu Feng and Fang Xiaobai rush past him. Fang Xiaobai, who was at the side, smiled coldly and said, "There's no rush. The 3 calamities and 9 disasters have just begun. It will not be that easy for the Universe Origin sect to have the last laugh. If the two of them were to fight with that weirdo, we would be the ones laughing. Yes, let's be careful. This is the first calamity, so let's focus on stability. Don't use your trump cards for now." Thud thud thud. Chu Feng and Fang Xiaobai ran wildly through the surging Armageddon calamity. However, they were shocked to discover that Shao Chen was not much slower than them. What's going on? Chu Feng's expression could not help changing drastically. If they could not catch up to Shao Chen, they would not have a chance when the second calamity arrived. Fang Xiaobai heaved a sigh of relief. He was not confident of fighting with this strange person in this flaming mountain. If they were not careful, they might fall off the heaven-bridging peak. World exterminating lightning calamity. While the two were stunned, the Armageddon fire scattered, and the second calamity, the world exterminating lightning calamity, quickly descended. Suddenly, thousands of purple lightning bolts descended outside the heaven-bridging peak. From the outside, this heaven-bridging peak looked resplendent and dazzling. The entire peak bathed in the lightning tribulation, giving off a dazzling purple light. Whoosh! Whoosh! As the lightning bolts descended, the frost on the snow-white bedsheet covering Shao Chen scattered, looking like white snow falling off. He silently spread out his peak third-layer Thunder Dao domain. To Shao Chen, dealing with this world-exterminating lightning calamity was even easier than dealing with a fire. Chu Feng and Fang Xiaobai had just blocked the lightning bolt. When they looked up, they could not even see Shao Chen's back. They did not know how far they had been left behind. Just at this moment, flute music rang out. It was Gu Yuhan holding the flute. When he played it, he could actually control lightning. Not only did the lightning fail to stop him, but it even aided him, allowing him to ascend the heaven-bridging peak. Soon, Gu Yuhan saw Shao Chen's figure, and the murderous intent in his eyes immediately turned cold. When Gu Yuhan thought about the scene of Shao Chen fooling him in the herb field, he could not suppress the murderous intent in his heart. Why is this fellow not moving? However, Gu Yuhan found it strange that Shao Chen, who had been moving very fast, suddenly stopped, appearing to be in a daze. At this moment, Shao Chen felt shocked as he looked at the heaven-bridging peak bathed in lightning and dazzling purple light. He finally understood why the heaven-bridging peak felt both familiar and strange at first glance. This sense of familiarity came from the azure mountain with a broken dragon head in the desolate sea. Chapter 2171. When he first saw the sky-piercing peak, he felt a sense of familiarity and unfamiliarity. At that time, he felt puzzled. However, when Yuan Zhen appeared and got interrupted, Shao Chen did not overthink. Now that he was climbing higher and higher, that familiar feeling was getting stronger and stronger. It was only when the entire mountain was illuminated by lightning that Shao Chen remembered the blue dragon's old haunt, the green mountain that had lost its dragon head. As he thought about it, Shao Chen was instantly stunned. Could it be that the green mountain was one of the broken sky-reaching peaks? But, although the sky-piercing peak in front of him was incomparably frightening, it was still a heavenly tribulation. However, its divinity clearly remained, and its spirituality was still present. It was majestic and magnificent, causing others to feel deep veneration and not dare to profane it. However, the headless Blue Dragon Mountain in the Blue Dragon Haunt was a demonic mountain, a mountain that almost made him become a demon. For a moment, Shao Chen was shocked. He was trying to figure out what was going on. That day, when he climbed the mountain, he instantly fell into a demonic trance. Today, when he ascended the conferred God platform, would the same thing happen again? If he were to fall into the demonic path in front of everyone, it would be disastrous. He really did not know what the consequences would be. While he was distracted, Shao Chen fell into deep thought and hesitated. Buzz! Suddenly, the sound of a flute rang in his ears. Boundless killing intent assaulted him, and Shao Chen was jolted awake. The bedsheet condensed into a saber, and he turned around and slashed. This slash happened to merge with the Taoist rhyme of the apocalyptic lightning tribulation. Although Shao Chen was in a daze, in reality, his Thunder Dao domain had been spreading out. Without needing to get distracted, he could merge with the heaven-bridging peak's lightning calamity. Boom! This slash happened to strike at the same time as the doomsday lightning disaster. Taking advantage of the timing and location, this slash was ridiculously powerful. Gu Yuhan's face sank. He had no choice but to stop playing the flute as his figure weaved through the electric light. In the blink of an eye, strands of energy condensed from divine energy shot out. So. With a flick of his finger, he shot out a total of 9 rays of light, destroying all the descending purple lightning. However, the saber light containing the purple lightning did not scatter. Guyuhan had to move back. On this heaven-bridging peak, I have the advantage of favorable timing and favorable location. Don't even think about taking advantage of me. The remnant divine might in the heaven-bridging peak was oppressive. It was fine if one did not advance, but once one retreated, the pressure would increase explosively. Guyuhan showed an unsightly expression as the divine might pushed him back repeatedly. At the same time, he had to dodge the world annihilation lightning calamity. In an instant, his nimble figure turned into a sorry figure. Rumble! A few dangerous bolts of tribulation lightning forced Guyuhan to roll around on the mountain peak before he managed to dodge them by a hair's breadth. Ha ha ha! Brother Gu's movement technique is excellent. To think that you, the bona fide profound Heaven Holy Land's outstanding talent, practice the lazy donkey roll so skillfully. Guyuhan stood up and looked. Unexpectedly, he landed beside the universe origin sects Chu Feng and Fang Xiaobai. The one who sneered was the universe origin sects Chu Feng, who looked at him with a smile. Courting death. Guyuhan had a cold and aloof personality. Without saying anything, he leaped up and charged at Chu Feng. Fang Xiaobai and Chu Feng felt stunned. Unexpectedly, this person had such a decisive character. With just one teasing, he wanted to kill. This was the heaven-bridging peak. However, the two did not fear it. No matter how strong this Guyuhan was, he would only be sending himself to death. Senior brother, don't be impatient. Just at this moment, Mu Yunju appeared and quickly stopped Guyuhan. Guyuhan still showed some respect to his fellow sect member. He turned around and withdrew his killing move. Chu Feng and Fang Xiaobai heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. Although they were not afraid of fighting, Chu Feng was not afraid. Although they were not afraid of fighting, if they really fought, the two would not be able to continue climbing the heaven-bridging peak. Senior brother, the person wrapped in bandages is Xiao Chen. Mu Yunju said as he looked at Guyuhan. What? Fang Xiaobai exclaimed in disbelief, his expression changing drastically when he heard that. If it is not him, who else could it be? A cold laugh rang out. It was Bai Yunfei rushing over with Xiahou Zun beside him. Bai Yunfei growled, You're all a bunch of idiots. Think about the Void God realm. Aside from Xiao Chen, who else possesses the dragon race bloodline, is skilled with the saber, and grasps the Thunder Great Tao and the Ice Great Tao? However, didn't he fail to form a perfect divine seal and suffer a backlash? Furthermore, why is Xiao Chen dressed so strangely, coming out wrapped in a bedsheet? Mu Yunju said, Brother Bai and I discussed this earlier. Previously, he did not make a move much. Furthermore, he dressed strangely. Furthermore, even if we suspected him, we would not have expected him to be Xiao Chen. However, after thinking about it carefully, among the faux God world disciples, aside from Xiao Chen, no one matches his identity. Actually, they should have thought of this long ago. However, Xiao Chen's current attire was simply too strange. Furthermore, they had already received news that Xiao Chen failed to form a divine seal, so they did not think about it. Now that they came to their senses, the more they thought about it, the more they felt that it was Xiao Chen. Damn it! Had I known that it was him, I would have taken his life in the herb field. To think that this fellow dares to appear. Fang Xiaobai cursed, unable to hide his rage. Bai Yunfei looked at the heaven-bridging peak and said, If that Baldi Yuan Zhen did not come, no one will have an advantage over him on this heaven-bridging peak. He already obtained 2 of the advantages of the right time, the right place, and the right people. He will probably monopolize the benefits of this God-conferring platform. What do you mean? Bai Yunfei replied indifferently, Although there are conflicts and gaps between us, we clearly only have one common enemy. If we do not work together and fight on our own, we will not be able to catch up. If we work together, given our strength, there is no need to fear the 3 calamities and 9 disasters. The group remained silent. Working together meant splitting the benefits of the God-conferring platform equally. However, everyone here wanted to monopolize it. Otherwise, they would be able to benefit as well. That way, they would not be able to widen the gap between them. However, the higher Shao Chen went, the indistinct his back was no longer visible. If they did not work together, they would only benefit him. Senior brother, what do you think? Mu Yunju sent a voice projection as he looked at Gu Yuhan. Gu Yuhan sent a voice projection back. We cannot trust these people. This is especially so for that Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei. These two are very scheming. We can work with them, but we have to hold back ourselves. When the time comes, we will act according to the situation. If there is an opportunity, you and I will monopolize the God-conferring platform. Senior brother's thoughts are about the same as mine. Chu Feng is still fine. However, that Bai Yunfei experienced 2 calamities along the way. However, he did not use any trump cards. He is especially terrifying. After the voice projection ended, Mu Yunju said, Senior brother and I have finished discussing this. The heaven bridging peak has only cleared 2 of the 3 calamities and 9 disasters. If we do not work together, we will not be able to catch up to Shao Chen. I agree as well. A meaningful look flashed in Chu Feng's eyes as he smiled faintly. Good. In that case, let's work together to clear the 3 calamities and 9 disasters. Hence, this group of people with ulterior motives and plans decided to work together to deal with Shao Chen. Outside the trial tower, the group of faux god powerhouses exchanged glances, showing somewhat unnatural expressions. Mu Zifeng guffawed, ha ha. Interesting. This seems to be the first time the disciples of the Universe Origin sect, the profound Heaven Holy Land, and the Bushan Palace worked together to deal with my heavenly alliance since it was established. Compared to the other superfactions, the Heavenly Alliance was weaker in the first place, ranked at the bottom. If the disciples of the other superfactions worked together, even if they lost this bet, the Heavenly Alliance's reputation would not be affected at all. Instead, it would boost the Heavenly Alliance's reputation. At that time, it would be a Heavenly Alliance disciple fighting 3 superfactions alone. Useless thing. Gu Fei felt somewhat embarrassed, so he could not help cursing in his heart. However, he did not show it. He smiled coldly and said, What are you feeling cocky for? Let's see if you can still smile when this Shao Chen falls to his death on the heaven bridging peak. Mu Zifeng knew that Gu Fei was feeling righteous, so he did not mind. He smiled and said, Ha ha. You are overthinking. If he is really a member of my heavenly alliance, he will have the alloy battle armor protecting him. Even if he falls off this heaven bridging peak, he will not die. You should worry about the 2 disciples of your profound heaven holy land. If they fall, I wonder if the ancient profound heaven sword can save them. Humph! Gu Fei snorted coldly and did not say anything more. Before this bet ended, he had already lost most of it. Even if he won in the end, it would be pointless. The 6 false emperor outstanding talents on the heaven bridging peak each had their own merit. When they worked together, they were truly unstoppable. The 3 calamities and 9 disasters appeared one after another, but they could not stop this group's progress. They immediately left the people behind far behind. Shao Chen. 4 hours later, the 6 eyes lit up. They finally saw Shao Chen's figure. The 6 immediately felt excited, unable to hide the excitement in their eyes. After him. If we put in more effort, we will be able to catch up to him in less than 1 hour. At this moment, the 6 were less than 3 kilometers away from the God-conferring platform. When Shao Chen sensed the surging auras behind him, he turned his head back to look, and a strange look appeared in his eyes. To think that the 6 false emperor outstanding talents were working together. Shao Chen, if you stop here, we can write off the grudge between us. That dog of a son, Shao Chen, why are you still not revealing your true form? Do you think you can fool us by pretending to be crazy? Quickly stop. Otherwise, you will fall on this God-conferring platform today. The 6 below felt excited. However, they also felt somewhat anxious and worried, as they were not far from the God-conferring platform. They figured it out? Xiao Qin was not surprised. If this group of outstanding talents still could not figure out his identity at this time, they would be stupid enough to eat shit. He is not moving anymore. This fellow is frightened. When we catch up to him later, everyone will attack together and destroy him. Damn it. Previously, when he worked with that bald monk in the ice-fire wasteland, he fooled us badly. Seeing that Xiao Qin suddenly stopped moving in front, the 6 expressions immediately became excited, and their auras soared. Only Gu Yuhan felt somewhat confused. Earlier, Xiao Qin had been like this as well, hesitating to move forward. However, when Xiao Qin turned around and chopped down, Gu Yuhan fell. Gu Yuhan, who thought that his sneak attack would succeed, ended up suffering greatly. Junior brother, be careful. There is something strange about this fellow. He is definitely not frightened. Gu Yuhan did not remind Gu Yuhan. The 4 beside him sent voice projections to Mu Yunju. Feeling suspicious, Mu Yunju replied, yes. Given my understanding of him, he should not be like this. But why did he stop like this? Just wait and see. If he is really stupid, don't give up on the opportunity to make a move. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 6 attacked again, all of them moving faster. Clearly, they had held back when they worked together earlier. Xiao Qin was getting closer and closer to the God-conferring platform. However, Xiao Qin did not reveal any of his trump cards. The 6 knew this but kept it a secret. They only increased their speed, not willing to fall behind. To go up or not. If Xiao Qin went up, he would be able to reach the God-conferring platform in 3 steps if he burst out with his full power. If he did not, he would turn around and leave, avoiding these 6. His life would not be in danger. Xiao Qin had gained a lot in paradise, so there was no need to find it too unfortunate. He did not need to reach the God-conferring platform and search for an opportunity to soar into the sky. However, the scene of him falling into a berserk Dao at the summit of the Azure Mountain appeared in Xiao Qin's mind. This made the usually decisive Xiao Qin hesitate. If Xiao Qin reached the God-conferring platform and fell into a berserk Dao as well, even Mu Zifeng would not be able to protect him. Difficult. This path is difficult as ascending to the sky. In the time it took for a spark to fly, the 6 false emperor outstanding talents closed in. There was not much time left for Xiao Qin. Chapter 2172. The 6 false emperor outstanding talents could not be bothered with these thoughts in the time it took for a spark to fly. As they moved, they slowly approached Xiao Qin, their eyes overflowing with killing intent. Why isn't this weirdo moving? Do you want to die? We're only 10,000 feet away from stepping onto the Divine Seal altar. What are you hesitating for? Xiao Qin wasn't anxious, but the spectators outside the training grounds were anxious. They all shook their heads and sighed, not understanding what was going on. Even Mu Zifeng felt very confused at this moment, revealing some anxiety in his eyes. If you don't leave now, you won't be able to leave even if you want to. Mu Zifeng immediately felt uncertain. Even with the alloy battle armor protecting him, 6 false emperor outstanding talents surrounded him. Life and death were really hard to predict, everything was hard to say. At the same time, the disciples below the sky-piercing peak, who were gradually catching up, also saw this scene. Although they were still very far away and the divine might suppress them, they were all heaven-defying sovereign personages. Their vision was not restricted. Looking into the distance, he could still see the scene in the distance. The leader is actually that weirdo. Zhang Yushan's injuries were almost healed. When he saw Xiao Qin, who was high up in the sky, he immediately felt his face hurt. He hated this Xiao Qin to the core. He had slapped him so many times that he was hovering between life and death. He had lost all his face. Senior brother, Why do you think that eccentric person isn't moving? If we don't, then Senior Brother Gu and the others will catch up to us. At that time, only death awaits us." The two junior brothers watched from the side, puzzled. Zhang Yushan gritted his teeth and said, "It's good that he's dead. It'd be best if he falls off this Tongtian peak. I'll definitely jump down and stomp on him a few times." The two junior brothers looked at each other in dismay. Ever since their senior brother was slapped into a pig's head, his brain had not been working well. This was the Tongtian peak. It was hard to climb up, but even harder to descend. With the presence of the divine might, how could they jump just because they wanted to? Be careful that before others fell to their deaths, they would be smashed into meat paste first. Let's go, let's go. I want to see how a bunch of people beat up that dog." Zhang Yushan was burning with anxiety. He mustered his strength and wanted to take a look as soon as possible. Xiao Chen already imagined the scene of the 6 false emperor outstanding talents beating this strange person up like a dog. If he had the chance, he might even step on them a few times to vent his anger. Divine Seal Altar. Xiao Chen gazed at the top of the mountain. To him, the height of 1,000 zhang was as if it was right in front of him, and he could see it clearly. The auras of the 6 false emperor outstanding talents grew increasingly closer. Xiao Chen even felt a stabbing, killing intent behind him. Sharp, cold, and icy. If there was a chance, these people would take his life in an instant. They would not be lenient. Xiao Chen closed his eyes, allowing the cold wind to surge around him, allowing the murderous aura behind him to surge, allowing his thoughts to drift, only seeking to empty his mind. To me, going up or not is actually a false proposition. Once he went up, he would not be able to suppress the demonic aura in his body, and he would reenact the scene at the peak of Green Mountain, turning into a demon under the moonlight. If that really happened, there was no doubt that he would die. The various superfactions would not tolerate a person who cultivated a demonic technique appearing in the faux god world. If they treated him as a spy of the demonic path, then they could kill him as they wished. There wouldn't be any problems. Therefore, the real question in his heart was not whether to go up or not, but whether he was afraid of death. How stupid, Xiao Chen suddenly scolded himself. It was best not to step on this bridge, because he had chosen a heavenly bridge that tested his courage. From the moment Xiao Chen stepped onto the bridge of courage, his heart already gave him the answer. If he went up this divine seal altar, then so be it. There was no need to worry so much. Not to mention whether he would fall into the demonic path or not, so what if he did? With a clear conscience, there was no need to care about what others thought. It was just like how Xiao Chen was now wrapped in a bedsheet, not caring about what others thought. Xiao Chen opened his eyes, and a brilliant light flashed in them, revealing a sharp light. Boom! Resplendent electric light burst out of Xiao Chen's body, looking as piercing as the sun. Whoosh! The piercing electric light startled Chu Feng and the others. They squinted, finding it extremely strange. Surround him. This fellow is probably making a breakthrough in some secret technique. When the 6 saw the situation, they were slightly stunned. Then, they soared into the air and charged at that clump of resplendent electric light. When the light scattered, they saw a person wearing alloy battle armor. His handsome face looked like it had been carved with a knife. He looked very handsome and heroic, exuding a tyrannical air. Who else could that face be but Xiao Chen? Xiao Chen! Indeed it is you. I will definitely kill you today. Upon seeing Xiao Chen reveal his true appearance, Bai Yunfei, Mu Yunju, Fang Xiaobai, and the others who had grudges with Xiao Chen felt their qi and blood surge. Overwhelming rage twisted their faces, making them wish that they could tear Xiao Chen apart. This was especially so when Bai Yunfei, who had vomited blood and fainted at the divine capital's gate, gritted his teeth. Just one look was enough to frighten everyone. It has been a long time. The few of you are still as graceful as before. However, it is not that easy to kill me. Get down. Seeing that the six looked like they wanted to eat him up, Shao Chun felt extremely happy. He threw a palm strike as he laughed loudly. Dragon's Gate secret technique, Firmament's Rage. The rage from the ancient great desolate Aeon made the heaven-bridging peak tremble slightly. A huge palm materialized, a world of lightning using the five-element divine lightning. Boundless saber intent spread out in that world of lightning. This was an incredibly strong Dragon's Gate secret technique in the first place. Furthermore, Shao Chun had the advantage of the heaven-bridging peak when he drove it with his third-layer Thunder Dao domain. When he threw a palm strike from above, it happened to merge with the divine might. In that instant, Chu Feng and the other five felt like the sky had fallen on them. The six expressions changed. They felt heavy pressure bearing down on them, making breathing difficult. Retreat. This sudden palm strike, which Shao Chun held the advantage of time and place, instantly extinguished the six auras, forcing them to take 3 steps back. Only then did the six execute their killing moves and condense divine energy to break the palm strike. It's Shao Chun. When Zhang Yushan, who was below, saw the earlier scene, he nearly fell in fright. Then, he quickly supported Zhang Yushan. Senior brother, be careful. Zhang Yushan had yet to recover from his shock. He said absent-mindedly, damn it, didn't he clearly fail to break through to the divine seal? Why is he here? Shao Chen, who suppressed Zhang Yushan for 5 years in Fiend Cloud Hall, was actually the person who beat Zhang Yushan into a pig's head. Zhang Yushan simply could not accept such a result. It really is the Heavenly Alliance's Shao Chen. Upon seeing Shao Chen attack, the group of faux god powerhouses outside the trial tower felt slightly stunned. Although they had already guessed it, they still felt somewhat shocked when they saw Shao Chen reveal his true appearance. Indeed, it is him. However, Mu Zifeng showed pleasant surprise in his eyes. He revealed a joyful smile. It really is that fellow. Gu Fei showed a grave expression, feeling a mountain-like pressure. After Shao Chun threw his palm strike, he turned around and flew towards the god-conferring platform. It looked like Shao Chen would truly step onto the god-conferring platform soon. Whoosh! Whoosh! On the heaven-bridging peak, Chu Feng and the other 5 were false emperor outstanding talents, after all. They took 3 steps back and condensed their divine energy to break Firmament's rage in just 1 breath. When the electric light scattered, they looked up and saw that Shao Chen was already less than 300 meters away from the god-conferring platform. If he had not delayed earlier, he would not have stood a chance at all. Now it is hard to say. Bai Yunfei exchanged glances with Chu Feng and sent a voice projection. Then, the 6 charged over again. Mu Yunju felt incredibly frustrated. He did not notice this scene. Right now, he only had eyes for Shao Chen. Damn it! I don't believe that I can let you escape this time. Although the divine might here was at its densest, it was only 3 kilometers in the end. The 6 would only need 4 or 5 breaths to cross it. Whoosh! 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 However, just at this moment, Xiao Hozun and Fang Xiaobai turned around and blocked Mu Yunju and Gu Yuhan at the same time. Chu Feng smiled faintly and said, "The 2 of you, Brother Bai and I will take our leave first. Don't worry. The 2 of us will definitely help you kill Shao Chen." "The 2 of you, what is the meaning of this?" Mu Yunju shouted sullenly, enraged by the sudden situation. Xiao Hozun smiled and said, "Brother Mu, there is no need to act stupid. Everyone knows that. Splitting the benefits of this god-conferring platform equally is not enough. Just stay here in peace. You might as well help Brother Bai and Brother Chu." At this moment, Mu Yunju finally understood. These 4 had colluded in secret. Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei must have promised them benefit. Mu Yunju had been waiting for this moment to get Xiao Hozun and Fang Xiaobai to block him and Gu Yuhan. "Senior brother, what should we do?" Mu Yunju could not help feeling anxious. The 4 were about equal in strength. There would be no problem for Xiao Hozun and Fang Xiaobai to delay the two. If they really fought, as long as Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng left the mountain, the two would definitely suffer a great loss when the four worked together. Gu Yuhan glanced indifferently at the summit. A figure had just entered the summit. It was Shao Qin, who had already ascended the god-conferring platform. Gu Yuhan could not help thinking, this Shao Qin does not just hold the right time and location. He clearly holds the right time, the right place, and the right people. Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng are two fools. They thought that they already had Shao Qin in the bag, and did not fight with Shao Qin at all. If they underestimated the enemy, they would be consigned to eternal damnation. Chapter 2173. With a thought, Shao Qin quickly set aside his thoughts. He knew that the opportunity he had been waiting for had arrived. If a choice appeared before him, one that could sever all karma and allow him to become a true god, what would he choose? Shao Qin, if I don't die today, I will tear you into 10,000 pieces in the future. Before the two could do anything, Shao Qin instantly spread out his peak third-layer Thunder Dao domain. The storm-like attacks were boundlessly sharp. Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei brought out all their trump cards. At the foot of the mountain, Yuan Zhen, who was chanting scriptures, glanced over. His expression did not change as he continued walking through this vast and boundless burial ground. Shao Qin knew that this was because the heaven-bridging peak had broken into 3 pieces and lost its divine nature long ago. The world tree supporting the heavenly realm had broken, and the heaven-bridging peak had fallen. The martial epoch could no longer truly become a true god. Indeed, by severing karma, one could seek freedom and no longer be bound by anything. Everything in the past would become nothing. The many knots in one's heart and mental barriers would no longer exist now or in the future. One would no longer be tainted by karma or bound by the world. One could do whatever one wanted. Such a change made Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei's expressions turn somewhat unsightly. They showed anxious expressions as they exchanged glances and quickly sent voice projections. Calling it the god-conferring platform was too much of an exaggeration. Interesting. Shao Qin's lips curled up in a smile. He could see the surroundings from the heaven-bridging peak. Chaotic cycles, breaking the shackles of time, no longer suffering from the torment of aging, sickness, and death. From then on, one would be immortal, existing forever with the world. This made this god-conferring platform look somewhat strange. It looked like a skeleton with a soul. Shao Qin could not be bothered with this monk, who knew what he was thinking. He looked around and fixed his gaze on the god-conferring platform below him. He saw Yuan Zhen, the cunning monk of the hidden spirit temple, who hid his strength like a fox. Dream on. The two of us spent a lot of effort to get to the god-conferring platform. How can we let you take advantage of us? Immediately, a miniature scene appeared on Yuan Zhen's finger, showing the karma. Miserable cries immediately resounded throughout the heaven-bridging peak, startling everyone who heard them. Shao Qin fought against two alone, yet he still managed to knock Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei away. On the divine seal altar there was a great wind. Shao Qin leaped over and placed half of his foot on it. The moment he landed, he was almost blown away by the strong wind. The entire peak of Tongtian Peak had been flattened, but there were no signs of human activity. His face instantly turned pale with fright, drained of blood, and panic. Shao Qin couldn't help but ponder for a moment, but he immediately rejected it. This kind of hypothetical question was meaningless. With a boom, the powerful might of the Tao of Thunder spread out. Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng were caught off guard and were forced to take several steps back. In an instant, they were pushed to the edge of the conferred god stage. Their bodies swayed and they almost fell. They could clearly see Shao Qin's appearance. His body was covered in silver armor, and his eyes shone brightly. His eyebrows were like swords, and his eyes were like stars. He looked heroic. Unfortunately, now that the heavenly realm was broken and the world tree was destroyed, all of this had already become a legend. Shao Chen asked himself. Everyone on the sky-piercing peak discussed animatedly, feeling extremely shocked by this contrast. When the light lit up, it also illuminated Shao Chen's appearance at the summit. Everyone on the sky-piercing peak immediately saw this mysterious phenomenon. After knocking back 6 people with Firmament's rage, Shao Chen did not hold anything back. He faced the strongest divine might at the peak and stepped onto the god-conferred platform. Fang Xiaobai and Xiao Hozun blocked Gu Yuhan and Mu Yunju. However, this did not affect Shao Chen at all. Right now, Shao Chen stood on the god-conferred platform and looked at the flowing space-time and the karmic threads flowing upside down. When Fang Xiaobai saw the 3 Paramitha lamps, he smiled faintly and said, "Not bad. Shao Chen, thank you for lighting these 3 Paramitha lamps for me. Brother Chu and I will remember your kindness. Now you can scram down." Even though this was not Shao Chen's first time seeing a Paramitha lamp, he still felt disappointed and frustrated. If only he could light up his divine bridge and ascend to the heavenly realm. How great would that be? Seeing that they could no longer endure, Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng lost all of their earlier arrogance. Their expressions were miserable as they begged Shao Chen for mercy. Even the heavenly gods that managed to survive the previous great war between the righteous factions and demonic factions lost their eternal lives. Karma bound them, and they did not dare to leave the faux god world, fearing a backlash from the world. It's too late. Paramitha lamp. 1 lamp, 2 lamps, 3 lamps. The veritable essence energy in Shao Chen's body was continuously sucked into the god-conferred platform. Releasing it was extremely difficult. Connecting the sky, if it were in the past, he would have been 1 step away from the sky. Shao Chen showed a calm expression as he said, "The fortuitous encounters in this god-conferred platform can be shared among the 3 of us. There is no need to fight to the death. If there are any grudges, we can resolve them on the god-conferred platform. So, that strange person is Shao Chen. This is too incredible. Time, location, and the 3-layer Thunder Dao domain. Shao Chen held all sorts of advantages. He had given these 2 a chance to enjoy the benefits of the god-conferred platform. In the end, they even tried to chase him off. Why did they insist on severing their karma? However, right now, Shao Chen could only look at the faux gods of the past. On the divine conferred altar, this was the most exciting moment. They could sever the karma that bound them to the heavens and earth, and obtain true freedom. 3rd layer Dao domain. How can this be? I gave you face, but you rejected it. Shao Chen flicked his finger, and a drop of blood shot out and landed on the azure lamp. Shao Chen. As a sovereign personage, Shao Chen still had to respect the god-conferred platform. He could not underestimate it or profane it. Shao Chen did not show any mercy, punching the 2 off the god-conferred platform. Chu Feng smiled sinisterly and said, "I had the same intention. I am also not willing to share the benefits of this god-conferred platform with a 3rd person." Shao Chen took a step forward. The moment he stepped onto the god-conferred platform, something strange happened. I wonder how many Paramitha lamps Shao Chen can light up on the god-conferred platform? I heard that some people manage to light up 5 Paramitha lamps at most. At this moment, no one said anything. Even the bet between Mu Zifeng and Gu Fei was temporarily put aside. Shao Chen's heart sank. He knew that this was not the time to lament about this. Not being able to advance to godhood did not mean that it was useless to him. However, just at this moment 2 strong winds blew. Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng appeared at the same time, landing on the god-conferred platform. Was his life bitter? Did he have any regrets? Did he experience unbearable pain? The Paramitha lamps were originally meant to allow one to surpass the Paramitha lamp, illuminating the divine bridge and allowing one to step onto the deity realm. Now, they could only be used as treasures for sovereign personages to comprehend the Tao and obtain fortuitous encounters. It looked like Shao Chen would have no problem lighting up at least 4 Paramitha lamps. However, just as the two circulated their veritable essence energy, their expressions changed slightly. Shao Chun was extremely strong in the first place, about as strong as a false emperor. After putting on the alloy battle armor, he immediately entered his peak state. Whoosh, whoosh. The many faux god powerhouses outside the trial tower were entranced when they saw this scene. Shao Chun continuously used his third-layer Thunder Dao domain to suppress the two. Then, he pressed forward and instantly launched a sharp attack. Coincidentally, the two Permetha lamps floated out at this moment. However, it was impossible for Shao Chun to sever his karma just because of this. Wanting to condense divine essence, how could it be that easy to condense it? Whoosh! Shao Chun could not be bothered with the two's shock. He smiled coldly and said, "The two of you are not capable of chasing me off. Refine divine energy? Let's see how the two of you refine divine energy on this God-conferred platform." Although this God-conferred platform was ancient and mysterious, it clearly lost its spirituality, leaving only an empty platform. As Shao Chun continued pouring in veritable essence energy, the God-conferred platform turned as viscous as water. An azure lamp slowly appeared. A determined look appeared in Shao Chun's eyes. Turning into a demonic Tao or not, it has nothing to do with me. From the moment I stepped onto the Bridge of Heroes, there was no reason to retreat. When Shao Chun squinted, he saw that it was the scene of Shao Chun fighting Chu Chaoyun in the Sky Dome realm during the Five-Nation Youth Competition. Whoosh! Damn it! However, Shao Chun could only do his best to endure. He could not advance by even half an inch. Half of his foot hovered in the air, his divine body teetering on the verge of collapse. Every divine character was like a life. However, it did not have a soul or spirit. Shao Chun smiled coldly. However, he did not show any fear at all. He had expected such a scene long ago. When Shao Chun felt that his veritable essence energy and soul energy were still manageable, he revealed an expression of joy. The more Permetha lamps he lit, the greater the benefits he would gain. If it were anywhere else, Shao Chun would fear the might of divine energy. However, this God-conferred platform continuously absorbed the veritable essence energy of cultivators. Shao Chun had lived a bitter life. He had many regrets, as well as unbearable pain that he could not tear his heart apart. At this moment, Shao Chun stood at the edge, half his foot still hovering in the air. He had not truly stepped onto the God-conferred platform yet. It is time to truly step onto it. Shao Chun chanted sutras amid the boundless corpses. Even when standing on the God-conferred platform, his silhouette was visible. The circulation of veritable essence energy in this place did not change. However, Shao Chun had the blue dragon divine body. His physical body and vital qi were much stronger than the two's. The veritable essence energy in Shao Chun's body surged like a flood. This veritable essence energy surged towards the God-conferred platform uncontrollably. Rumble! However, what was the point of doing so? Shao Chun did not panic. Before coming, he already knew about the mysterious phenomenon that would occur after stepping onto the God-conferred platform. If karma was severed, although one would gain a new life, it would also negate one's life. Perhaps one had some regrets about one's life, feeling that the world of mortals was too bitter. No matter how strong one was, as long as one was tainted by karma, one would experience unbearable pain. Bai Yunfei said coldly, "Brother Chu, each of us can condense a strand of divine energy. We will definitely be able to knock him down. Shao Chun, Brother Shao, give us a chance. The two of us know we were wrong." A true god possessed vast might that surpassed time and space, jumping out of the cycle of reincarnation and not being bound by karma. However, one could only watch. Shao Chun stretched out his hand and touched a line of karma. He casually looked down. This boundless burial ground appeared insignificant in the depths of his eyes. Bang! 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 Severing karma, disrupting the cycle of reincarnation. As the veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's body drained, the god-conferred platform slowly spun like a millstone. The surrounding scene changed. Time and space flowed, and beams of light made of karma flowed down in reverse, looking very colorful. Suddenly, a flickering flame lit up. A strand of light immediately appeared in this dark burial ground, illuminating the surroundings. It was like the worldly ghost hatchet divine art appeared naturally. Many divine characters were embedded in it, inspiring awe. Xiao Qin revealed a nostalgic expression as he looked at the surrounding karma and the flowing time, entering deep thought. Chapter 2174. Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei were knocked down. However, the Permetha lamps that they activated with veritable essence energy did not disappear. Together with the Permetha lamps that Xiao Qin activated earlier, 5 Permetha lamps immediately appeared on the god-conferring platform. Bai Yunfei thought very well, wanting to chase Xiao Qin down and forcibly take his 3 Permetha lamp. Unexpectedly, he and Chu Feng each gave Xiao Qin a Permetha lamp in the end. Time flowed and karma reversed. On the god-conferring platform, Xiao Qin showed a grave expression. In the blink of an eye, another 2 drops of essence blood landed on a Permetha lamp. Xiao Qin's complexion paled significantly. Every drop of essence blood contained his soul and divine seal's origin energy. Whoosh! Whoosh! The lamp flames flickered, illuminating this part of the world. Xiao Qin's face flickered on the heaven-bridging peak's summit. Everyone on the sky-piercing peak could see his handsome, delicate face, with sharp features that looked like they had been carved by a knife. 5 Permetha lamps. That's 5 Permetha lamps. Those 2 fools, Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei, really gave him a great gift. They really went for wool and came home shorn. Xiao Qin already gave those 2 a chance, but they rejected him. I wonder what's strange about the god-conferring platform. Those 2 false emperors cannot condense divine energy. The disciples of the 5 great sects continued climbing the heaven-bridging peak. Although the latecomers could not condense a Permetha lamp, as long as they reached the god-conferring platform, they would gain something from comprehending the Tao and cultivating there. Comprehending the Tao and meditating on the spot would result in some gains, just not as great as the ones before him. Boom! Suddenly, the world roared. Xiao Qin condensed another Permetha lamp. 6 Permetha lamps appeared on the god-conferring platform in an instant. The high and mighty lamp flames looked as dazzling as stars from a distance. Every Permetha lamp's flame was lit by Xiao Qin's soul. This had never happened before. Even the strongest person only condensed 5 Permetha lamp. However, this time, with Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng's help, Xiao Qin lit 6 Permetha lamps, surpassing everyone in the past. Thunderous booms resounded in the surroundings. At that instant, the wind and clouds surged as a myriad of unusual phenomena took place. A boundless and majestic spirit appeared in the sky. Amidst all sorts of terrifying phenomena, the image of a broken bridge flickered in the clouds, flickering in and out of existence. Divine bridge. Heavenly bridge. Many disciples on the sky-connecting peak exclaimed as they stared at the bridge in astonishment. The divine bridge in front of them was definitely not real. It was just an illusion that came from space-time. Even so, it was still shocking. This divine bridge represented the glory of the martial epoch, all the glory of the past. Once he stepped onto this bridge, he would be able to head to the heaven realm. Unfortunately, endless sighs filled the hearts of the crowd. The faux gods outside the trial tower fell silent as well. Compared to these sovereign personages, these faux gods felt even more deeply about this scene. 6 Permetha lamps, and even the phantom of the divine bridge, have appeared from the reversal of spacetime. This Xiao Qin is really surprising. An incredible demonic genius appeared in the Heavenly Alliance this time. We can't underestimate him in the future. I'm curious how much fortuitous encounter he can obtain after absorbing the fortuitous encounter of these 6 Permetha lamps. He will probably advance to peak false emperor with a thought. He obtained the years of bitter cultivation that others took in an instant. It's hard to say. He already refined the Thunder Cliff tree earlier. It's hard to say if he wants to make such a huge breakthrough. This was unprecedented. 6 permethyl lamps surprised everyone. However, another permethyl lamp appeared on the god-conferring platform amid this surprise. At the summit of the mountain, 7 stars shone brightly, illuminating the sky. The broken bridge, which flickered in and out of existence, appeared in the void. It was a sight that inspired awe and veneration. 7 stars. It turns out that he already possesses the ability to form 5 permethyl lamps alone. They are really too idiot. They gave Shao Chun a great opportunity for nothing. Who knows what great fortuitous encounter Shao Chun will obtain with these 7 permethyl lamps. Without Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei, Shao Chun would have only 5 permethyl lamps. He would not have caused such a commotion. However, there were no ifs in this world. The 7 lamps lit up the god-conferring platform. The light of the flames shone on Shao Chun's pale face, making him look glistening with divine light. He looked like a heroic divine general. After all, without the strength of a false emperor, 5 lamps is already my limit. As Shao Chun looked at the 7 lamps, he nodded slightly. Then, he sat down cross-legged and pressed his palms together. Boom! In that instant, the 7 lamps turned into flowing light and entered Shao Chun's body. The flowing space-time and inverted threads of karma immediately wrapped around Shao Chun, spinning rapidly. Damn it! Are the 2 of you still trying to block us? Mu Yunju said to Fang Xiaobai and Xiahou Zun through clenched teeth as he looked at the mysterious phenomenon on the god-conferring platform from 3 kilometers away. Everything happened in the time it took for a spark to fly. Right after Shao Chun knocked Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei down, Mu Yunju and Fang Xiaobai saw the mysterious phenomenon on the god-conferring platform. Before the 2 could react, they saw Shao Chun materialize 7 permethyl lamps. This immediately stupefied them. The series of strange changes stupefied Fang Xiaobai and Xiahou Zun. They could not digest this in such a short time. Mu Yunju's roar startled the 2 awake. Then, fear and shock appeared in their eyes. How could it be like this? Gu Yuhan smiled coldly and said, "It is within expectations. These 2 fools do not know what the god-conferring platform's environment is like." After Shao Chun refined that 100,000-year-old Herb King, even if his strength is weaker than ours, it should not be that much weaker. By relying on the terrain and timing, as well as the fact that these 2 fools underestimated him, I am not surprised that someone knocked them off the mountain. The moment Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei stepped onto the god-conferring platform, Gu Yuhan had already guessed the result. Others might not know Shao Chun's strength, but Gu Yuhan was very clear on it. Before he refined the Thunder Cliff Tree, this was the best opportunity to kill Shao Chun. If he missed it, there would not be another. Gu Yuhan had encountered such an opportunity before. Unfortunately, he had not grasped it. What are we waiting for? The 4 of us should charge up together. I don't believe that Shao Chun can defeat the 4 of us alone. Fang Xiaobai said seriously as he looked at the god-conferring platform. Foolish. If everyone was as brainless as you, not to mention 4 false emperors, even 10 false emperors would not be enough to kill him. How can Shao Chun be that horrifying? Look at how scared you are. You are completely brainless. Disdain flashed in Gu Yuhan's eyes as he looked at the god-conferring platform. Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei not only lost because they underestimated him. If the 4 of us go up, we will not have a good time either. What should we do then? Xiahou Zun felt a bit depressed as a haze flashed through his eyes. He said with a low voice. Gu Yuhan replied indifferently, "It's very simple. The 4 of us will work together and start refining divine energy. The moment we ascend the god-conferring platform, we will immediately attack and use our divine energy to execute a peak strike. Even if Shao Chun has 9 lives, it will not be enough. The moment Gu Yuhan said that, the eyes of Xiahou Zun and the other 2 lit up. After thinking about it, if Chu Feng and Fang Xiaobai had done the same earlier, the outcome might have been different. A bright light flashed in Fang Xiaobai's eyes. He said, "At that time, we will split his 7 permetha lamps equally. We will still be the ones laughing in the end. Alright, let's do that." Outside the trial tower, Gu Fei's lips curled up in a smile. Gu Yuhan truly lived up to his profound Heaven Holy Land's outstanding talent, second only to the Holy Sun. At the crucial moment, Gu Yuhan remained so calm. So what if he condensed 7 permetha lamps? In the end, my profound Heaven Holy Land's outstanding talents will benefit from it. Thinking of this, Gu Fei could not help feeling cocky. Mu Zifeng, who had been rather relaxed, now showed some worry on his face. This Gu Yuhan was scarily calm. He was still young, but he already showed signs of being a major character. After Gu Yuhan and the other 3 made their choice, they started refining divine energy and approached the summit step by step. However, Shao Qin, who sat cross-legged on the god-conferring platform, found it hard to make a decision. The moment the 7 permetha lamps entered Shao Qin's body, the scene before him suddenly changed. The incomplete bridge in the sky actually appeared before him. However, it was not 1 bridge but 2. One was pitch black and the other was jade white. One was a divine bridge, and the other was a demonic bridge. Each bridge had 7 permetha lamps on both sides. No matter what choice Shao Qin made, he would obtain the opportunity that the 7 permetha lamps brought. Shao Qin could clearly sense that one of the 2 bridges was made of his spiritual energy veritable essence energy, and the other was made of his demonic qi veritable essence energy. With a thought, one could become a demon or a deity. The choice was up to Shao Qin. Shao Qin showed a strange expression. Clearly, he had not expected such a scene. Then, Shao Qin looked into the distance to the other side of the bridge. There seemed to be an indescribably majestic existence on the other side. Shao Qin took a step forward and approached the demonic bridge. He immediately saw a bright moon hanging high on the other side of the bridge. Under the moonlight, a majestic figure wearing the alloy battle armor radiated a treasure light, smiling at Shao Qin. Shao Qin frowned slightly and moved closer to the demonic bridge. A throne and a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood appeared on the other side of the bridge. Shao Qin leaned on the throne, supporting himself with one hand on the armrest as he raised his wine cup and took a sip. Then, Shao Qin raised his eyebrows slightly and showed a sinister smile. The wine on Shao Qin's lips was as bright as blood. A scarlet moon slowly rose in the sea of blood. Shao Qin took 3 steps back and returned to his starting position. Then, he looked between the demonic bridge and the divine bridge. Chapter 2175. Inside the consciousness space, Shao Qin still could not come out of the strange cycle. The Buddhist sects Kasyapa Buddha and the Blue Dragon Bloodline's blood-soaked Dragon Emperor all abandoned the demonic path and returned to the righteous path. Just as Shao Qin felt at a loss, Gu Yuhan's group of 4 slowly approached the god-conferring platform on the heaven-bridging peak. It looked like they would need less than 10 seconds to charge up. Sovereign Emperor! Shao Qin closed his eyes and entered deep thought, thinking about which bridge to choose. It really is spiritual rain. Why is there spiritual rain on the god-conferring platform? Shao Qin had already seen the might of divine energy long ago. As they slowly approached, it looked like they were going to merge. However, just at this moment, something unexpected happened. The situation changed drastically. A sharp light soared into the clouds on the god-conferring platform, piercing through the sky. An aura suddenly burst out, shocking the surroundings, unprecedented in the past and present. What's going on? Shao Qin did not want to be an ancient demonic sovereign or a powerful divine sovereign. He only wanted to be himself. Shao Qin already saw the future of the divine bridge and the demonic bridge. If he chose either, the benefits of the 7 azure lamps would not diminish. Suddenly, Xiao Chen felt horror in his heart. There seemed to be an unknown plot on this god-conferring platform. If Bai Yunfei and Chu Feng had not been careless and could not condense divine energy on this god-conferring platform, Xiao Chen would not have defeated them so miserably. Xiao Chen's position changed. 2 ancient, burning azure lamps blocked his way in all directions. However, Xiao Chen had not woken up yet. The scarier thing was that Gu Yuhan's group of 4 had been condensing divine energy as they climbed. How condensed was the spiritual rain contained within the rainwater? However, such a choice did not remain in Xiao Chen's memory. Perhaps it was erased. If one did not make a choice, one would not be able to reach the other side. No matter which direction one took, 2 bridges would appear, 1 divine bridge and 1 demonic bridge. The moment the 4 attacked, Mu Zifeng's expression changed. He knew that he was in trouble. With Xiao Chen's experience, he could easily tell that anyone who blocked these 4 killing moves would die unless a sovereign emperor made a move. Gu Yuhan felt stupefied. Although Xiao Chen was domineering earlier, everything was within Gu Yuhan's control and expectations. The disciples of the various factions were overjoyed. The spiritual rain falling from the sky was even purer than the origin liquid. There was no third option. It wasn't that they didn't want to cultivate together, but that they couldn't. Ling Yu. Perhaps it was not without reason that the sky-bridging peak was broken into 3 pieces by the Black Dragon King. The 2 bridges in front of him were formed by sensing the demonic energy and spiritual energy in his body. Seeing this scene, Gu Fei, whose heart had been hanging in suspense, began to laugh wildly, feeling incomparably pleased with himself. In the illusory space, Xiao Chen opened his eyes and made his choice. Ha 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 ha. In the end, Gu Fei won this bet. Mu Zifeng, remember, you owe me a wish. I hope you can accept your defeat. A figure suddenly stood up. With a flip of his hand, the wind and clouds changed color. Instantly, the killing moves of the 4 experts crumbled and crumbled in the blink of an eye. Xiao Chen could only rely on himself to resolve the problem before him. Back then, he could not find the answer to the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's question. Furthermore, now that Xiao Chen's cultivation had fallen from half-step sovereign emperor to late-stage sovereign personage, he would definitely die. In the past few years, Xiao Chen had purposely given up on cultivating the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art. Amid thunder and lightning, strong winds blew, and torrential rain poured endlessly. In just a few breaths, Xiao Chen's cultivation plummeted like a flood, incredibly fast. Before the 4 could sigh, the remaining palm lights shattered their internal organs, leaving thousands of holes in their bodies. Then, they fell off the sky-bridging peak. However, when Xiao Chen looked back, nothing changed. Only by making a choice could one see where the other shore was. If it were someone else, perhaps only 1 bridge would appear before them. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 2 divine bridges appeared because of Xiao Chen. Long ago, Xiao Chen learned that one could not cultivate the righteous Tao and demonic Tao cultivation techniques at the same time in the martial epoch. As Xiao Chen looked at the 2 ancient bridges in front, he sat down cross-legged and formed hand seals. Immediately, the spiritual energy and veritable essence energy in his body flowed out continuously. If he had to choose one path to obtain the benefits of the 7 azure lamps, then he would not mind giving up on it. Back in the real world, on the god-conferring platform on the heaven-bridging peak. After entering this god-conferring platform, Xiao Chen did not say anything about turning his head back. He would not run into such a problem. Xiao Chen searched the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor did indeed cultivate a demonic Tao cultivation technique. Could there be only 1 bridge left before him? If the veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's body could reach the state of primal chaos, yin and yang, perfectly merging. Right, let's do that. However, why must I separate myself? Inside his consciousness space, Shao Chun scattered his spiritual energy and veritable essence energy as fast as he could. The two ancient bridges in front had already started flickering endlessly. On the heaven-bridging peak, many cultivators were drenched by the rain. When the rain seeped into their skin, they discovered that their cultivation had increased slightly. The four of them condensed divine essence along the way. At this moment, the moment they attacked, the terrifying aura instantly severed the thunder clouds, and the entire heaven-span peak started trembling. Boom! A single thought from a fiend god. This fall was even worse than Chu Feng's and Bai Yunfei's. Whether or not he could survive was up to fate. Shao Chun was overjoyed. As expected, it was like this. Good. Mu Zifeng snorted coldly and ignored Shao Chun. He only looked at Shao Chun, feeling confused. He still could not understand. Gu Yuhan said coldly, determination flashing in his eyes. Although he said that he was turning back, he was actually running away. How could running away solve the problem? The figure who stood up gently waved his hand. When his palm was facing the sky and his back was facing the sky, he pushed out his palm. Facing the howling wind and torrential rain, the few of them took large strides. Just as they were about to step onto the conferred god stage, they leaped up and attacked simultaneously. Divine energy that was purer and denser than Gu Yuhan's and the others surged out. As the Buddhists say, repent and you will be saved. Oh no! Now the four, who were only a few steps away from the conferred god stage, did not dare to move rashly. Gu Yuhan's expression changed slightly. As he looked at the spiritual rain in his hand, he showed a strange expression in deep thought. What is this Shao Chun up to? Shock flashed in Shao Chun's eyes as he turned around. There were actually two bridges behind him as well, one divine bridge and one demonic bridge. That is possible. Perhaps he sensed that the four below are coming and knows that he will die for sure. So, he might as well take a gamble. Even if he did not want to, he had to choose. What cultivation did these people have? They were heaven-defying sovereign personages at the very least. When the spiritual rain entered their bodies, it actually increased their cultivation. With this thought, Shao Chun's eyes lit up. His thoughts immediately cleared up. Shao Chun did not get overly anxious. He continued to think calmly, thinking of a way to resolve this. Be it the ancient demonic sovereign under the blood moon on the other side of the demonic bridge, or the powerful deity sovereign under the bright moon on the other side of the divine bridge, they were all himself. Mu Yunju glanced at the conferred god stage a few steps away. Then, he said, Senior brother, this fellow's cultivation has fallen to late-stage sovereign personage. What move are you making? To think that I cannot understand it. Mu Yunju and the other two gaped at each other, unable to figure it out as well. Even if Shao Chun had been at his peak, he would not have had any chance of victory against these four killing moves, which were formed entirely from divine energy. At best, he would have been hanging on by a thread. Strange. Even if Shao Chun found Shao Chun's memories of this problem, it would not be of much help. Quickly absorb it. Ah, this is even purer than origin liquid. It really is the immortal spiritual rain. Suddenly, a large amount of veritable essence energy flowed out of Shao Chun's body, looking pure and dense. Wind blew, thunder roared, clouds moved, and rain fell. Soon, the spiritual energy that Shao Chun gave off turned into a heavy downpour. Accompanied by lightning and thunder, it poured down with a crashing sound. Be it in the future or in the past, I will only choose to be myself. No one can determine my future. As long as Shao Chun's spiritual energy veritable essence energy and demonic chi veritable essence energy reach a balance, he will be able to merge his veritable essence energy into one. We can't wait any longer. No matter what tricks he plays, we just need to suppress him with strength. This is origin energy. It looked like this made sense. They might have faced a similar situation before. With a thought, a god-demon could either become a god or a demon. Outside the trial tower, the group of foe gods, including Mu Zifeng, could not understand either. Let's do it then. Now that Xiao Chen made up his mind, he no longer hesitated, turning to leave. There were many god monarchs and demonic lords in the world. However, there was only one Xiao Chen. However, the price is too high. Even jumping off the god-conferred platform would be better than this. Furthermore, look. He still has not opened his eyes. This means that he is still refining the Permetha energy of the azure lamp. After living for so long, I can't even understand the actions of a junior. It was not that some people had not cultivated the Permetha energy. However, in the end, they were forced to give up on one of them. Whoosh. Cultivation is not easy to come by. Who knows how many resources he exhausted, and how much time he had to spend to reach his current cultivation? Why did he scatter it just like that? Gu Fei, who was laughing maniacally outside the trial tower, was stupefied. Before he finished speaking, Xiao Chen actually became a sovereign emperor, instantly turning the situation around. Is it possible that he is brewing some kind of secret technique? I know that some secret techniques will cause one's cultivation to drop when executed. The primal chaos veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's body could no longer reach its initial state of balancing yin and yang, merging them into one. Now that Xiao Chen suddenly released his origin energy, he could not understand. Xiao Chen executed a horrifying killing move at the same time, instantly drowning out Xiao Chen. Gu Fei smiled and said, I think you are overthinking. Perhaps you are just stupid? The Permetha energy is not that easy to refine. If you are not careful, you might end up damaging your brain. Don't you think so, Mu Zifeng? This, who would scatter the veritable essence energy that they had cultivated so painstakingly? How many years would it take to condense it? Chapter 2176. Sovereign Emperor. Divine Vein Realm Sovereign Emperor. On the God-conferring platform, Xiao Chen's aura and the surging divine energy in his palm proved that Xiao Chen was already a bona fide divine vein realm sovereign emperor. First, Xiao Chen's cultivation dropped significantly, falling from half-step sovereign emperor to late-stage sovereign personage. Then, he jumped 2 grades, directly advancing to sovereign emperor. Many people felt stupefied. Xiao Chen's advancement felt like a dream. Even false emperors could not advance to sovereign emperor in a short time. How could the bottleneck between sovereign personage and sovereign emperor be so easy to break? The Cloud Sea realm had 3 major stages: Star Venerate, Holy Venerate, and Sovereign Personage. After passing Sovereign Personage, one would break through the limits of humans and start cultivating the divine. The bottleneck between Sovereign Personage and Sovereign Emperor was from human to divine. Even the peak geniuses of the faux god world needed 1 year to comprehend before they could break through. For example, the Dragon God Crown Prince Qin Ming, Grim Reaper Lin Feng, the profound Heaven Holy Sun, Chu Chaoyun, and the others, who had already left the faux god world, had to cultivate for 1 or 2 years before they broke through their bottleneck. However, someone like Xiao Chen, who instantly broke through the bottleneck of a sovereign emperor, was one of a kind. 1 moment ago, Xiao Chen was still a late-stage sovereign personage. In the next, he became a divine vein realm sovereign emperor, defeating Gu Yuhan and the others with a wave of his hand. Then, he soared into the sky from the god-conferring platform. He actually became a sovereign emperor. Zhang Yushan's voice trembled as he spoke in a daze. Zhang Yushan was not the only one. All the disciples of the various factions on the heaven-bridging peak were shocked. Everyone had only one goal in the faux god world: to become a sovereign emperor as soon as possible and return to the great thousand realms to show off their might. However, for most people, becoming a sovereign emperor in 10 years was an extravagant hope. Even though the faux god world's environment and fortuitous encounters were much better than the outside worlds, it was still somewhat difficult to become a sovereign emperor in 10 years. Those who could become sovereign emperors within 10 years would be heavily nurtured by their sects and factions. They would hold high positions, and their futures would be limitless. In the past, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor had told Shao Qin this. No matter how talented one was, if one could not become a sovereign emperor, everything would be meaningless. At the trial tower, Mu Zifeng looked at Gu Fei and said, "Brother Gu, it looks like I won this bet in the end." Gu Fei's expression was gloomy as he shouted, "I can still afford to lose, don't worry." Then, he left in a hurry. He looked anxious as he flew towards Real God Hall. Everyone knew that Shao Qin wanted to see the Holy Lord and do his best to protect Gu Yuhan and Mu Yunju's lives. These two were outstanding talent. Their strength was clear for all to see. The profound Heaven Holy Land had spent a lot of resources on these two. Dying like this would be a huge loss. The many foe gods sighed softly. No one had expected things to end like this. In the end, the heavenly alliances, Shao Qin monopolized the greatest benefit of the god-conferring platform. There were many obstacles along the way. Gu Yuhan, Chu Feng, and the others did their best to monopolize it. In the end, all their efforts ended in vain. Back then, if Chu Feng and Bai Yunfei had agreed to Shao Qin to form their own azure lamps and absorb the Permitha energy, the result might have been different. However, there were no ifs in this world. Shao Qin absorbed 7 azure lamps, breaking the shackles of godhood and becoming a divine Vane Realm sovereign emperor. Did Shao Qin really absorb only 7 azure lamps? Only Shao Qin knew the answer. He did not absorb 7 azure lamps but a total of 14. When the divine demon bridges merged into one, the Permitha lamps did not merge. There were 7 on each side for a total of 14. The instant Shao Qin refined the energy of the 14 Permitha lamps, he felt his cultivation soar. This was the first time in his life that he experienced the carefree feeling of soaring into the sky, advancing rapidly. It was truly a carefree feeling. Sovereign Emperor! Shao Qin tightly clenched his right fist. His eyes sparkled with a sharp light as confidence welled up in him. Shao Qin had waited for this moment for a very long time, for many years. He had not wasted his 7 years in the foe god world. Many outstanding talents ended up as sovereign personages. Since they could not become sovereign emperors, they could only waste their lives and die in sorrow. Shao Qin finally cleared the hurdle of becoming a sovereign emperor. After glancing at the foot of the mountain, Shao Qin shouted, "Where are the Heavenly Alliance disciples? Shao Qin will open the way for you. Aside from my Heavenly Alliance disciples, no one else is allowed to enter the god-conferring platform." What? Damn it! What is this Shao Qin trying to do? Why can't we go up? Because he is a sovereign emperor. If you are not convinced, just look at what happened to Gu Yuhan and the others. Shao Qin is a sovereign emperor. Let's go. Let's see who dares to stop us now. Immediately, some people rejoiced while others grieved. Naturally, the Heavenly Alliance disciples rejoiced. Along the way in paradise, the Heavenly Alliance disciples had been bullied and humiliated. The Heaven Bridging Peak had also been ostracized by the other factions. The Heavenly Alliance disciples had always been at the bottom of the Heaven Bridging Peak. Mu Zifeng, this disciple of yours is really arrogant. Once he gained the upper hand, he immediately became arrogant. Why doesn't he think about how pitiful he was before he came? He was even wrapped in a bedsheet to deceive others. How shameless! I thought that he was some big shot. He is only SOSO. When the other foe god powerhouses saw this scene, their expressions naturally turned unsightly. What did this mean? Shao Qin directly chased their disciples off the god-conferring platform. All of them felt enraged. Mu Zifeng smiled and said, "Everyone is right. This Shao Qin is really undisciplined when doing things. He is simply shameless. I'll teach him a lesson later." However, Mu Zifeng felt incredibly pleased in his heart as he laughed loudly. Indeed, this Shao Qin did not make a mistake. This was what Shao Qin needed to do. Even when he stood in a high position, he did not forget his status. What a bunch of fellows! Previously, when the Heavenly Alliance disciples were ostracized, he did not say a word. Serves you right for having such a day. Naturally, Shao Chun had to thank the Heavenly Alliance for his accomplishments today. He was doing this to return the favor. Hence, he did not find anything wrong with it. After looking down the mountain, Shao Chun entered deep thought. Then, he went to a corner of the God-conferring platform. Then, he suddenly attacked, using his own strength to block all the divine might there. Boom! Immediately, Shao Chun forcefully opened up a fast passage on the heaven-bridging peak, which was filled with divine might. Naturally, only the Heavenly Alliance disciples could use this passage. Soon, the stronger Heavenly Alliance disciples, Wu Meng, Gongzi and Mou, climbed up the God-conferring platform one after another. They showed somewhat complicated expressions, feeling very grateful. Congratulations, Shao Chun. You are too polite. When the Heavenly Alliance's people arrived at the summit through the fast passage, Shao Chun smiled faintly and stopped. I'll leave the rest to the three of you to maintain order. I'm going down the mountain. Wu Meng nodded. There were many Heavenly Alliance disciples, so there had to be an order. The three also understood the rules, so they easily took on this task. Whoosh! Shao Chun gently leaped up and directly jumped down from the summit. As Gongzi looked at Shao Chun's back, he sighed. Back then, he was defeated by me. In the blink of an eye, he already left me far behind. Mou said after some thought, Shao Chun has a sense of toughness, sharpness, and pride. However, he is low-key and dependable, matching the air of the faux god world. It is simply tailor-made for him. It is not strange for him to surpass us. The three withdrew their gazes and looked at the god-conferring platform. Wu Meng said after some thought, the three of us should be able to condense an azure lamp each. Being able to obtain such a harvest is already an opportunity. Right. If not for Shao Chun, not to mention one Prometha lamp, we might not even be able to reach the god-conferring platform. The three sighed in their hearts. Compared to the other superfactions, even with the alloy battle armor, the Heavenly Alliance disciples were still slightly weaker. Indeed, they had to thank Shao Chun for their current opportunity. However, there was a reason why Shao Chun was in such a rush to leave. In the burial ground, Yuan Zhen chanted scriptures, purifying the dead. A Buddhist light shone on his body as he walked among the corpses. He looked like a Buddha in the world, inspiring awe and veneration. I found it. Yuan Zhen suddenly rejoiced. Then, he saw a pile of corpses turn into fireflies and scatter after being purified, revealing a dust-covered, ancient key. However, just as Yuan Zhen was about to collect it, a strong aura descended from the sky. The Buddhist light that Yuan Zhen originally gave off was forcibly suppressed into his body. The strong aura forced Yuan Zhen to take a few steps back before he could stand stably. The ethereal Immortal Palace Key? Monk Yuan Zhen, why are you looking for this? Shao Chun, who descended from the sky, grabbed the key. Then, he raised his eyebrows as he looked at Yuan Zhen. Chapter 2177. An Ethereal Immortal Palace Key. Shao Chun also had one, which the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor gave him. According to rumor, there were a total of 7 Ethereal Immortal Palace Keys. If one gathered all of them, one could open the Ethereal Immortal Palace and take out the Transcendent Grade Soul Tool, the Wings of Time. This Wings of Time had a great origin. It was the only Transcendent Grade Soul Tool in the world. Back then, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor relied on this Wings of Time to defeat the unparalleled Black Dragon King. However, the world did not have much interest in the Ethereal Immortal Palace, as the 7 Ethereal Immortal Palace Keys were scattered throughout the Great Thousand Realms. The most important one, the Inheritance Key, had been lost for a long time, its whereabouts unknown. More importantly, no one knew where the Ethereal Immortal Palace was. Even if one found the key, it would be useless. Hence, Shao Chun felt very curious. Why did Yuan Zhen give up on the opportunity on the God-conferring platform? Why did Yuan Zhen come to this burial ground to search for the ethereal immortal palace key? The instant Yuan Zhen saw Shao Chen appear, he showed an extremely stunned expression. The combination of his bald head and his shocked face looked very interesting. After stabilizing his emotions, Yuan Zhen smiled and said, "I was wondering who it was. It turns out that benefactor Shao was joking with this monk. Congratulations! Being able to obtain the opportunity of 7 azure lamps is unprecedented in paradise. After you become a sovereign emperor and leave this faux god world, your name will shake the world. Why are you looking for the ethereal immortal palace key?" When Yuan Zhen saw that Shao Chen did not budge, he continued to pursue the matter. After some thought, he said, "Everyone has their own secrets. Although this monk is a monk, I am no exception. Benefactor Shao, please stop asking." Shao Chen entered deep thought. Then, he nodded and said, "That's fine. I won't make things difficult for you then." As Shao Chen spoke, he tried to put the ethereal immortal palace key into his storage ring. Yuan Zhen immediately panicked. He stepped forward and stretched out his hand to stop Shao Chen. "Benefactor Shao, this monk found this after much difficulty. Don't do this." Shao Chen toyed with the ethereal immortal palace key for a while. Then, he smiled and said, "It belongs to whoever looks for it first? You are a monk. There is no need to be so unreasonable. Since it's in my hands, it naturally belongs to me. What's wrong with putting it into my own storage ring?" Yuan Zhen frowned heavily. Then, he said sullenly, "Benefactor Shao, we have some friendship, right? Let's not talk about the matter of the ice-fire wasteland. Let's talk about today. If this monk didn't withdraw today, I'm afraid you wouldn't have obtained such a great fortune, right?" When Shao Chen heard this, he immediately found it funny. This monk had almost cheated him of his ice-fire lotus platform in the ice-fire wasteland, yet he still had the nerve to mention it. "As for today, if you don't fight for it, what has it got to do with me?" Shao Chen said softly, "Let's not talk about this. Tell me, why are you looking for the ethereal immortal palace key? If you tell me, I can give it to you." Yuan Zhen revealed a troubled expression. He said, "I cannot tell Benefactor Shao about this now." Shao Chen didn't make things difficult for him and said, "Then I'll keep it for you for now. When you can tell the truth, I'll give it to you." Ignoring Yuan Zhen, Shao Chen leaped into the air. His figure gradually grew weaker and eventually vanished from paradise. Whoosh! Shao Chen's figure flashed, and he appeared outside the trial tower. He immediately noticed many gazes on him. The faux god powerhouses of the 5 super factions looked at Shao Chen with somewhat unsightly expressions. "Shao Chen, come over here." Mu Zifeng smiled faintly and waved at Shao Chen. "Greetings, Lord Mu." Shao Chen landed and performed a cupped fist salute. Mu Zifeng carefully sized up Shao Chen. Then, he nodded and said with a smile, "Not bad. Your performance this time is pretty good. Among the rewards, I'll think about what to give you after we leave the faux god world." After advancing to Sovereign Emperor, Shao Chen had to leave the faux god world. This trip to the faux god world came to a perfect conclusion. Shao Chen would appear in the Great Thousand Realms as a member of the Heavenly Alliance for a long time. "Thank you, Lord Mu. How much longer can I remain in the faux god world?" 3 days. Shao Chen thought to himself. With only 3 days remaining, he felt somewhat reluctant to leave now. The environment of the faux god world was similar to the Great Desolate Aeon, very suitable for cultivators to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, Shao Chen had stayed here for 7 years. However, it felt like less than 1 year had passed in the outside world. This felt rather wondrous. Mu Zifeng said, "There are still 3 days. You should deal with your matters first. I'll take you away after 3 days." "All right. I'll take my leave first then." "Wait up." Just at this moment, a voice containing great might rang out. The one who spoke was a Bushan Palace old man. This old man wore hemp robes and looked like an immortal. He showed a dignified expression without showing any anger. He gave off a blazing aura, looking like an inextinguishable sun. No one dared to look at him directly. Senior Jean. When Mu Zifeng saw the old man, his heart sank. He did not dare to be slow. However, Xiao Chen did not understand what was going on. This Senior Jean should be a Bushan Palace expert with the Golden Crow bloodline. However, he did not know why Senior Jean stopped him. It seemed like this person did not come with good intentions. The faux god powerhouses of the other factions showed suspicious expressions, guessing what was going on. This should be snatching Xiao Chen away. Senior Jean looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Xiao Chen, someone previously told this old man that you once had a grudge with Ancestor Dragon City." Mu Zifeng felt nervous when he heard that. This was blatantly snatching Xiao Chen away. However, Xiao Chen's dragon race bloodline was real, so he could not say anything about it. Mu Zifeng's thoughts raced as he said softly, "Senior Jean, Xiao Chen did indeed have a grudge with Ancestor Dragon City, which is why he left the Divine Dragon Empire. Right now, he is a free person in the Heavenly Alliance, able to come and go as he pleases. My Heavenly Alliance does not interfere with the internal conflicts of the other factions. Senior, rest assured." Senior Jean smiled and said, "Little Feng, you are treating Xiao Chen like an outsider by saying that. No matter what, Xiao Chen is a Divine Dragon Empire person. He just suffered some grievances. I have a pretty good relationship with Ancestor Dragon City's old fogies. Xiao Chen, if you have any grievances, tell me. I can still help." Xiao Chen sighed in his heart. The third palace master was right. If one did not become a sovereign emperor, one was nothing. Back then, if Xiao Chen had been a sovereign emperor, there would not have been any problems with that matter in the Divine Dragon Empire. Now that Xiao Chen had become a sovereign emperor, the powerhouses of Bushan Palace would be willing to step forward and resolve the matter. Reality was really interesting. However, the grudge between Xiao Chen and the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor was not as simple as Senior Jean thought. Xiao Chen believed that the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor would give Senior Jean face. However, the dragon race also had its own faction in Bushan Palace. If Xiao Chen did not become a Dragon Emperor, he would just be asking for trouble by remaining in Bushan Palace. Xiao Chen said straightforwardly, "Thank you for Senior's kind intentions. It is just a small matter. This junior will deal with it himself." Xiao Chen could tell that Senior Jean held a high position among the faux god powerhouses. Xiao Chen's words had humiliated this senior powerhouse. It would not be easy to face him in the future. In that case, take it as me saying too much. Senior Jean remained expressionless as he quietly withdrew, not saying anything more. Senior Jean was a senior, a powerhouse of Bushan Palace, much more important than Xiao Chen. Clearly, it was impossible for Senior Jean to persuade Xiao Chen. However, Mu Zifeng heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Xiao Chen, you can withdraw first." Faux gods surrounded Xiao Chen, making him feel uncomfortable. Fearing that someone would call him again, he quickly left. Just after Xiao Chen left, the profound Heaven Holy Land's Gu Fei returned from the True God Palace. As he watched Xiao Chen leave, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. "Damn it! If I were still here earlier, I would have smacked that fellow to death." When Gu Fei met the Holy Lord earlier, Mu Yunju and Gu Yuhan were severely injured. Although they managed to survive, it was hard to say whether they could become sovereign emperors in the future. Gu Fei felt stifled in his heart, feeling very uncomfortable. Paradise's trial was more or less over. Xiao Chen had obtained the greatest benefit: 1 thunder cliff tree and 7 permethal lamp. The remaining benefits on the god-conferring platform had to be shared with a group of people. There was nothing more to see. The faux god powerhouses of the 5 super factions shook their heads and sighed as they left one after another. Back in the burial ground, Yuan Zhen played with the skulls of the dead, feeling very depressed. "Screw you!" Yuan Zhen flew into a rage and tossed the skulls in his hand. He did not look like a monk but more like a hooligan, appearing very ruffian. He had found the ethereal Immortal Palace key after much difficulty, but Xiao Chun snatched it away. This truly angered Yuan Jun. Furthermore, this fellow had become a sovereign emperor. Even if Yuan Jun wanted to make a move, he could not. After venting his frustration, Yuan Jun stood up and looked at the vast sea of corpses. Then, he said softly, I really cannot remain in this rundown place. I have to become a sovereign emperor as well. Yuan Jun sighed. He felt helpless when he met Xiao Chun. Chapter 2178. After leaving the trial tower, Xiao Chun immediately headed for Fiend Cloud Hall. Lu Benwei showed a faint smile. He had been waiting for a long time already. When he saw Xiao Chun arrive, he performed a cupped fist salute and said, How do you feel about soaring up and becoming a sovereign emperor? Xiao Chun thought for a while before replying seriously. At first, I was very excited. When I looked at the entire paradise, I could clearly feel how insignificant the others were. However, after I left paradise and saw a group of faux god powerhouses, I no longer felt anything. Ha 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 ha. Lu Benwei could not help guffawing when he heard that. Xiao Chen's answer was rather interesting. However, when he thought about it, he found that to be true. This was the faux god world. The faux gods that one could not meet in the great thousand realms were all gathered here. No matter what kind of accomplishments one had, one would not be able to feel proud. Xiao Chun spoke honestly. The instant he advanced to sovereign emperor on the god-conferring platform, he had felt hot-bloodedness surge in his body. It was like he had gained a new life. Gu Yuhan and the other three, who were originally strong opponents, were not worth mentioning in his eyes. Only when one truly became a sovereign emperor would one understand the difference between a false emperor and a true sovereign emperor. After leaving paradise, the group of faux gods looked around. This was especially so for Senior Jean, who held a high seniority. Hence, they did not have any other thoughts. Now that Xiao Chun arrived at Fiend Cloud Hall, his mental state had completely calmed down. Xiao Chun thought about how many obstacles he had faced on his path to becoming a martial emperor in the Kunlun realm. He had experienced too much and could already remain calm when facing anything. I'm here to say goodbye, first senior brother. Xiao Chun looked at Lu Benwei. After thinking for a while, he said, First senior brother. Lu Benwei appeared slightly stunned. Then, he asked softly, What did you call me? First senior brother. Although I did not become Senior Fiendish Saber's disciple, we have been together for 5 years. Although we are not master and disciple in name, our relationship has already surpassed that of ordinary master and disciple. Whether Senior Fiendish Saber recognizes me as his disciple or not, he is my master in my heart. In 3 days, he would be leaving the faux god world. There were some things that he would not have the chance to say if he did not say them now. Lu Benwei was quite pleased in his heart. He patted Xiao Chen's shoulder and said, It's good that you have the heart. I have always treated you as my junior brother. Come, follow me to see Master. He should see you. Yes. It was as Lu Benwei said. This time, Fiendish Saber Shimu did not avoid Xiao Chen. Thump. When Xiao Chen saw Shimu seated above, he immediately knelt without saying anything. This junior Xiao Chen will be leaving this faux god world soon. I will never forget Senior Fiendish Saber's various favors. Not to mention how much guidance he had given to Xiao Chen in the past 5 years. Just the life-saving grace a few days ago was enough for Xiao Chen to kneel. Towards this eccentric senior, Xiao Chen's heart had always been filled with awe and respect. This was especially so after Xiao Chen learned that Shimu came from a noble clan of swordsmen but chose the saber Dao. Shimu's expression was clearly stunned for a moment. However, he quickly recovered and said coldly, I'm not your master or your parents. What is there to kneel for? Whoosh! Right after Shimu spoke, he lifted Xiao Chen up with a palm strike, not letting him continue kneeling. Lu Benwei smiled and said, Master, I have worked hard for you. In this trial of true God paradise, I managed to do my best. Shao Chen was in the limelight this time, occupying 7 lamps on the God-conferring platform. This was unprecedented. Many faux gods were stunned. This time, I am here to say goodbye to you. Shi Mu retorted with a serious expression. What work? If I go out wrapped in a bedsheet, who knows how many people will laugh at me? I'm leaving? Shi Mu spoke halfway when he suddenly thought of something. He revealed a melancholic expression and turned to leave. Before he left, he said, "Stay in Fiend Cloud Hall for the next 3 days. Don't go anywhere else." Shao Chen found this somewhat strange. He still had some friends in the faux god world. It did not seem appropriate for him to stay in Fiend Cloud Hall for the last 3 days. Shao Chen could not help glancing at Lu Benwei, hoping that the other party would say something. Who knew? Lu Benwei smiled and said, "Shao Chen, just stay here. If you want to meet anyone, I'll bring them over." Since Lu Benwei already said that, Shao Chen could not rebut, so he nodded slightly. The two chatted for a while. Then, Lu Benwei imparted many of his Sovereign Emperor cultivation experiences to Shao Chen. Sovereign Emperor was just a title, not a realm. The true realm was the Divine Vein Realm. However, everyone had always referred to it as Divine Vein Realm Sovereign Emperor. Now, the two meant the same thing. After transcending mortality, there were 3 major realms: Veritable Personage, Primal Core, and Cloud Sea. Each realm had 3 stages. At the Cloud Sea realm, there were Star Venerate, Holy Venerate, and Sovereign Personage. However, be it Star Venerate, Holy Venerate, or Sovereign Personage, they were all in the Cloud Sea realm. Above the Cloud Sea realm was the Divine Vein realm. Above the Divine Vein realm was the Supreme Faux God realm. After crossing the Cloud Sea realm, one would be considered to have broken through the limits of cultivation. When one reached the Divine Vein realm, one would start cultivating the soul. The physical body was ordinary. There were 12 meridians, 12 tendons, and so on, forming the major cycle and minor cycle. The meridians ran through the entire body. Veritable essence energy and spiritual energy flowed through the meridians, forming the foundation of cultivation. However, after crossing the Cloud Sea realm and transcending mortality and entering Sage realm, the physical body would undergo a rebirth. It would become an extraordinary body, the Golden Emperor body. When cultivating now, one had to open divine veins. When one opened all 9 divine veins, one would reach great perfection in the Golden Emperor body. One would have an undying body. This undying body could be reborn from just a drop of blood. Even if one's physical body was destroyed, one could reform it with just a drop of blood. Such an opportunity was already beyond the imagination of ordinary people. That was why sovereign emperors were so horrifying. After reaching the Divine Vein realm, we can no longer be called humans? Lu Benwei asked seriously to Shao Chen. However, we are not gods. Divine Vein realm sovereign emperors are existences that exist between gods and humans. At first, Shao Chen felt that these words sounded strange. How could anyone say that they were not human? However, after thinking about it carefully, how could anyone be reborn from just a drop of blood? How could one survive even after their head and heart were chopped off? There is a total of 9 stages in the Sovereign Emperor realm. One divine vein is one stage. With every additional divine vein, the divine energy one can condense and the comprehension of the Tao will deepen significantly. If one gathers all 9 divine veins, one can be called a demigod. Such a person can be called a god just short of igniting the divine flame. In reality, one could only be called a faux god. However, in this martial epoch, faux god was already the peak. It would not be wrong to call one a god. Lu Benwei continued, after reaching the Sovereign Emperor realm, one has to forget all the cultivation techniques one cultivated in the past. Divine energy is not something that one can easily drive and refine using one's cultivation technique. Divine vein realm cultivation techniques are extremely rare. However, now that you are in the Heavenly Alliance, you will not lack them. Shao Chen listened quietly, not interrupting. Occasionally, he would make note of his doubts in his heart. After Lu Benwei finished, Shao Chen voiced the questions in his heart, and Lu Benwei answered them one by one. This conversation lasted for a long time before Shao Chen returned to his residence in Fiend Cloud Palace. The Purple Thunder Divine Incantation can no longer help me cultivate. However, I have the 10,000 Dragons art, so I do not need to seek help from the Heavenly Alliance. The 10,000 Dragons art was a cultivation technique of the dragon race that had been passed down since the Great Desolate Aeon. After many epochs, it had been continuously improved. Starting today, I will formally cultivate the 10,000 Dragons art. I have to quickly condense a divine vein. Although Shao Chen was already a sovereign emperor, he had not opened a divine vein yet. According to Lu Benwei, he was only an early-stage sovereign emperor. Shao Chen had already converted all his veritable essence energy into divine energy. He was no longer like a false emperor, who needed to condense divine energy before he could use it. Sitting down cross-legged, Shao Chen closed his eyes and sensed his body. The 9-star primal core in his dantian had already shattered, turning into a golden sea. There seemed to be a heart beating strongly under the sea. A vast life force poured into Shao Chen's body. Divine energy sea. The golden divine energy turned into a vast sea. When his consciousness entered, Shao Chen stood in it. As Shao Chen walked on the sea, ripples appeared. Immediately, dignified Buddhist chants and ethereal immortal music appeared. All sorts of mysterious phenomena appeared with the ripples. However, Shao Chen entered deep thought. When he looked up, he saw a vast sea above him. However, that sea was pitch black like ink. The black sea was filled with a tyrannical will to consume. With a thought, the world turned upside down. The place where Shao Chen's consciousness stood turned into a pitch-black divine energy sea. When he looked up, he saw a golden divine energy sea. At the God-conferring platform, Shao Chen had chosen the primal chaos divine bridge. Now that he was a sovereign emperor, he actually had 2 divine energy seas. This resolved Shao Chen's worries. In the future, even if he cultivated a demonic Dao cultivation technique, as long as he did not want to, no one would be able to see his black divine energy sea. The 2 divine energy seas were one and also not one. Shao Chen could not understand the mysteries behind them. Immortal and Buddha dual cultivation, divine and demonic as one. Shao Chen did not know what the future would be like. After all, this was a path that no one had taken before. Chapter 2179. Master. Time passed slowly. At some point in time, a soft, cold snort came from the vast Fiend Mountain. Since you are not willing to say more, I will not ask. In any case, you only need to remember that you are now a formal member of the Heavenly Alliance. Although our Heavenly Alliance is not as strong as the other factions, we will not fear trouble. Many people in the faux god world were paying attention to him. Even if he knew who it was, it would be useless. Back at Shao Chen's residence, he showed a grave expression as he rushed back. His heart pounded heavily, unable to suppress his excitement. Shao Chen smiled faintly and did not forgive him, returning the bow. The interesting thing was that Lu Benwei called Zhang Yushan and the other 2 over to send off Shao Chen. Lu Benwei did not mind. He smiled faintly and said, "You are too polite. Take care. With Lord Mu taking care of you, there should not be any problems along the way." 4 hours later, the image of a dragon formed by divine energy burst out of the sea. It roared proudly in all directions, and a dragon roar rang out. However, fiendish saber Shimu did not give Shao Chen a chance to explain. He shouted coldly and sheathed his saber. The waves scattered and space returned to normal. That dragon image left in a fluster, feeling like it had been granted amnesty. Scram! Xiao Chun calmed his emotions and continued to circulate the 10,000 dragons art unhurriedly. The two chatted for a while. Then, Lu Benwei arrived late to send off Xiao Chun. Zhang Yushan felt incredibly frustrated. These two junior brothers are as stupid as dogs, touching my sore spot. Xiao Chun did not deny it. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Greetings, Lord Mu." After the assassination attempt failed in the ice-fire wasteland, those people still did not give up. If not for Fiend Cloud Hall, I would have died several times over the past few years. A resplendent saber light flashed above Fiend Cloud Hall. This saber light disappeared in a flash. The saber light was too fast. Even a regular sovereign emperor would not be able to see it clearly. If one was weaker, they might not even see it. Immediately, light and shadows appeared on Xiao Chen's body. Dragon might spread out, looking solid. Xiao Chen turned back to take one last look at the Holy Domain's divine capital. He could vaguely sense that someone was watching him. If it were a regular cultivation technique, even Xiao Chen's Purple Thunder divine incantation, refining divine energy would be difficult. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come. Mu Zifeng asked with some surprise. Clearly, he had some understanding of Shi Mu's reputation. Only today did he suddenly realize that there was such a hidden danger. For the past 5 years, he could have lost his life at any moment. Although this Xiao Chen is not my disciple, he has, after all, stayed in this Demon Cloud Hall for 5 years. "Benwei, I have something to tell you." A silhouette dashed out with a terrifying aura that caused time and space to freeze. "I am 500,000 kilometers away from Fiend Cloud Palace," a miserable shriek rang out. After a long time, Lu Benwei suddenly appeared. "Then," he said softly, "it is as you guessed. There are indeed foe gods receiving them from behind. They are Golden Dragon race experts with horrifying strength." Lu Benwei nodded and listened attentively. Damn it! Everyone saw a Golden Dragon image vanish. In the next moment, the owner of that figure was covered in shattered bones. Only a boundless scarlet light flew in all directions. "Goodbye. I'll have to trouble you all to take care of Senior Shi Mu in the future. Big Brother Lu, thank you for taking care of me for the past few years." Xiao Chen had not expected the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor to have such a relationship with this Lord Mu. This was the first time Xiao Chen used his divine energy to form a dragon roar. Now, his dragon might had an additional divine nature. Compared to before, it was like heaven and earth. Xiao Chen recited the 10,000 dragons art and slowly circulated his energy. Ripples appeared on his divine energy sea, and waves slowly rose and fell. So, he is protecting me. No wonder this senior fiendish saber wants me to stay in Fiend Cloud Palace for the last 3 days. Unexpectedly, you have been staying in Fiend Cloud Palace for the past few years. This Shi Mu is famous for his strange temper. It is incredible that you can stay here even though you are not his disciple. When that dragon image scattered, fiendish saber Shi Mu's face quickly aged, turning back into that of an old man. "I have to make a trip to the Blue Dragon ancient city as soon as possible." Xiao Chun lamented the danger of his situation. Without any trump cards in hand, he did not feel safe at all. When he went out to check, he would still be in the dark, not knowing anything. Xiao Chen nodded to indicate that he understood. 3 days later, Mu Zifeng arrived at Fiend Cloud Palace, preparing to bring Xiao Chen back to the Heavenly Alliance. However, this 10,000 dragons art only managed to condense one dragon image after 4 hours. The progress was simply too slow. This was a grudge between Xiao Chen and the Golden Dragon bloodline. He did not want to drag the Heavenly Alliance into it, not wanting to create too much trouble. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. After thinking for a while, he did not say anything. If Xiao Chen were strong enough and followed that line of sight, he would discover a mask on that figure's face. However, based on the three's unwilling expressions, it was clear that they had to give Lu Benwei face, and could not rebut. Shi Mu smiled coldly and said, "How is this seeking trouble?" This is taking his life. This fellow is about to leave. That group of people will definitely be driven to desperate measures. If we turn a blind eye, we will be taking a risk. Scram. According to the records in the secret manual, one could only truly grasp the basics of this cultivation technique after one condensed a 10,000 dragons picture above one's divine energy sea. If not for cultivating the 10,000 dragons art and sharpening his senses, Shimu would not have been able to catch that faint light. It looks like little brother Shao Chun has indeed offended some incredible people in the dragon race. However, Master's action this time shows Master's attitude. At the very least, no one will seek trouble for Shao Chun for some time. This way, Shimu and Shimu were much closer. Brother Shao Chun, take care. I wish you a bright future in the Heavenly Alliance. Shimu braced himself and said some polite words. Going to a foe god's dojo to hide was disrespectful. Any foe god would get angry. Shao Chun could only go to the Blue Dragon ancient city. Only there could he have a trump card to protect himself. All right. There is no need to be so polite. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor and I are old acquaintances. Back then, we risked our lives together. Unfortunately, he made his own choice. Otherwise, he would not be much weaker than me. You are his disciple. Although he did not ask me to take care of you, there is no need to be so distant. Mu Zifeng smiled faintly and waved his hand. A bright light flashed in Mu Zifeng's eyes. He was very meticulous, figuring out some other meaning from Lu Benwei's words. Cultivating Immortal and Buddha together, divine and demonic as one. This was Shao Chun's martial Tao. Come then. Come with me to the Heavenly Alliance to officially confirm your identity. Humph. Shimu snarled. You are really seeking death. If it were in the past, I would definitely charge my way to Bushan Palace to seek an explanation for bullying me like this. This farewell meant that Shao Chun would be leaving the foe god world for good. He did not know when he would return. Senior Fiendish Saber, spare me. This was especially so for Zhang Yushan. He felt somewhat unnatural when he saw Shao Chun. The junior brother at the side found it strange and asked, Senior brother, why do you keep touching your face? The swelling has already subsided. There is no need to be afraid. 10,000 dragons art, soaring dragons dancing, playing with the sea and clouds, diving, flying, or hiding in the depths. It encompasses all the dragons in the world, using the 10,000 dragons to soar and return to the origin, condensing the ancestor dragon's origin. The saber light recovered and the air rippled. In an instant, it radiated for thousands of kilometers. Space seemed to surge like waves. As they surged, saber intent spread to every corner of space. After leaving Fiendish Cloud Hall, Mu Zifeng asked, Shao Chun, did you encounter anything in the foe god world? When Shao Chun thought about it, he found it somewhat terrifying. Life in the foe god world was rather peaceful and dull. In the past few years, Shao Chun had been immersed in bitter cultivation, comprehending the Saber Dao domain. He could not afford to be distracted, nor did he think that he would run into any danger in Fiendish Cloud Hall. Shao Chun gave Lu Benwei a meaningful look. Then, he performed a cupped fist salute and bowed. Plop, plop. This 10,000 dragons art was not easy to cultivate. Shao Chun had read through any cultivation technique in the past once or twice, and he could circulate it as he pleased. He would be able to operate it freely and control it as he pleased. Shao Chun sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. Then, he used the 10,000 dragons art to drive the divine energy sea. The surface of the sea immediately rippled. Miserable shrieks that came from the depths of Shao Chun's soul rang out. All the fleeing scarlet light was destroyed. No wonder Big Brother Lu often cultivated outside my room in the past 5 years, nearly always by my side. They saw a handsome, demon-like young man holding a long saber in his hand. However, now that so many people were present, he could not afford to flare up. He could only follow Lu Benwei and send off Shao Chun. If Xiao Chen follows me, nothing will happen. Why did Lu Benwei purposely say all that nonsense? The remaining scarlet light condensed into a golden dragon image. At this moment, that golden light was incredibly weak, looking very miserable. It turned out that this handsome, fiendish youth was fiendish Saber Shi Mu. Shi Mu said coldly, "In the past 5 years, you have been wandering around my fiendish cloud peak many times. I treated you as if you did not exist. Did you really think that I did not see you?" Whoosh!